Welcome to America's Day at the Races on FS2. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net. Today, live action from Oaklawn and, of course, here in South Ozone Park, New York, with a $117,000 carryover in the late Pick 5, which is coming up at the very next race. Greg Wolf alongside New York Racing Association handicapper Andy Serling to talk you through it. We get started in this fourth race coming up to kick things off, but a lot of attention on this card today because of a rare happening in a Pick 5 carryover like that.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of late Pick 5s or any Pick 5 carryovers. 117,000 out of the pool makes it a very, very interesting bet. It's not an easy sequence, and when you throw in the fact that it looks like you don't really want to spend time down the inside, you're going to have to find horses or hope for horses that spend a little time off of the rail, if not the whole race. It got a little easier with the scratches in this race, for better or for worse, when two major players came out, and Bourbon Calling, the 8, who's going to be a favorite, though doesn't matter what the odds are right now, becomes one of the horses that I think a lot of people will lean on, and at the very least they'll be staying towards the outside with the 8 and 7.
Yeah, all that early money on that horse right now. Right now, the feature, that 7th race later today, we're going to see Nova Rags back in action. This race, an allowance optional claiming field, 6.5 furlong sprint for Nova Rags for the Hall of Famer Bill Mott. Third off a layoff for this horse, is coming off a win last time out.
And I think that this is sort of a good indication of what you've got in this card today. You've got some relatively wide open races, and I don't think there's a single, sort of weak entrant in this race where you're going to say, gee, I can't believe this horse won. And obviously Nova Rags one that can win it, and while he draws towards the inside with his style, he'll probably be making an outside move in this race. I think he's probably, though, Greg, and I think you'll agree, he's got to run a little better than he did last time, where he got a perfect trip, and he didn't run one of his more formidable figures.
Yeah, still got it done, but did get a great setup in there. He's been reliable, though. 4 wins, 6 seconds, 17 career starts, 5-2 morning line. But as the morning line reflects, yeah, no one would shock you in this race. We're going to take a look at 24 Mamba. This horse put together a career best performance last time out. Beat a very nice one, held off the late charging Awesome Native, who had really been coming into his own.
While I would never bet him in today's race, because he's the last time was the dime horse at 10-1, he beat a softer field. He did run a race that day that could win here, and I'm not going to be shocked if he wins. And I think there's a big difference between handicapping races and deciding, I want to bet this race in this way, whether it's win, exactas, however you want to approach it, and looking at a Pick 5 with a carryover, where you want to survive legs. Hitting multi-race bets, 5s and 6s, they're more about surviving races than they are actually picking winners and avoiding potholes, because there will be a pothole or two at the very least during the sequence. And don't be one of these people that thinks, oh, I don't want to use the favorite, because yesterday's Pick 6, a lot of Pick 6s, there will be short-priced horses in them. They're not determined by 1 or 2 short-priced horses. They're determined by the bigger prices, if there are any.
1 or 2, yeah, could really do it all and then make it one worth playing. Take a look at what's ahead on the program as we're just getting underway, presented by Claiborne Farm. So late Pick 5, $117,000 carryover beginning in just 14 minutes. Fast conditions here in South Ozone Park, New York to get us started here at Aqueduct and at Oaklawn. Races 3 through 9 to come. They are muddy. We'll check in with Paul LaDuca out in Hot Springs in just a little bit. You can play all the action, including this big carryover, this rare late Pick 5 carryover, by getting signed up with Naira Bets. The offer for new members, there it is, $200 deposit match, new customer bonus. You punch in that code at sign up to take advantage. Match 200 right there at nairabets.com. So the race that kicks it off, race 4, 1 turn mile, $40,000 claiming race. As Andy mentioned, couple of key scratches in here, and the horse who should be the favorite at post time, the 8 Bourbon Calling. Let's check in with Jonathan Kinchin, who got things sorted out. We were worried we weren't going to have you on the show, JK. Phew.
My man, somebody came and fixed my mic. I had a bad cord, so we're back at it. They can't slow us down today. I want to reiterate and add on to what Andy said, and I think you'll agree with me. I can't think in racing currently of a better opportunity for a horse player, a bettor, than a pick 5 carryover. Most pick 5s around the country already have a low takeout. Then you add that 117,000 or whatever it is on top. It's an outstanding opportunity for horse players, one that I think that even if you're going to play a very small ticket, you should be involved in. If you're going to play this game, you got to play these types of situations. I'm going to single to get started here with the 8 Bourbon Calling. I think this horse stands out in this group. Andy mentioned the scratch from the 3 horse actually helps quite a bit from ticket construction purposes. I'll use 1, 3, 5, 7 in the second leg. A little bit more tricky. The 1 Dashing Della, I would make sure I have on tickets a little bit longer on the morning line. I'm going to single the 5 Chuck Willis, a horse that looks to be the best horse in the field and has a huge pace edge, something that you can lean on. I only need the 5 and the 6, the 5 24 Mama, the 6 Swiftsure. Swiftsure I like quite a bit, cutting back towards the outside in that 4th leg. And then to get paid, I'll use the 1 and the 3, the 1 Master Work and the 3 Seeking Unity. I prefer Seeking Unity in there, but Master Work ran well last time. I want to make sure I have that one in the mix as well. Good luck. Make sure you get involved. It's an outstanding opportunity.
It really is. We do not see carryovers, certainly of this size, but really ever. It's very rare in a late pick 5 on this circuit here at Aqueduct. So a great opportunity to go after this, and an additional nearly $500,000 bet into this pool. How do they look downstairs for this first leg of the sequence? Let's welcome in champion jockey Richard Migliori.
Hey guys, yeah, absolutely beautiful day here. Getting a little bit chilly, but still got the sun just above the grandstand. 3 horses that kind of stand out from a physical perspective, and all 3 make sense from, a form standpoint, and that would be starting with the 6 Gentleman Joe. Rick Dutcher's horses tend to be very well turned out, and he can't say anything but good things about this horse's coat this time of year. Really got that rich, hydrated coat we look for. Like what I'm seeing from him. Horse that's a standout, maybe just a little bit above everybody else, is the 7 Keystone Field. I really love what I'm seeing from this horse, making his first start for the record-setting Linda Rice. He is just well drawn towards the outside. He's coming from a good barn, so you expect him to look well. And I really am taken with number 7, Keystone Field. And then Bourbon Calling, who makes a lot of sense on paper, and he continues to make a nice impression here in the paddock. He's a very consistent sort, seems to run his race every single time, and he's extremely well drawn from the outside. Sometimes it lines up where the best looking horses are the horses that look the best on paper as well, guys.
All right, Meg, thank you. There is the one who should be favored by post time. Bourbon Calling, dropping down in class for Rob Atras, has faced some very good horses of late. We're going to kick things off post-break for the first leg of this late pick 5 carryover from Aqueduct when we come back. You're watching America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. It's brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. A huge Pick 5 carryover here on the NYRA circuit with an additional 550,000 plus bet into today's pool. And here's a look at the 2 Mystic Knight for this $40,000 claiming 1-turn mile. Has some efforts to go back to that. If he can run one of his better efforts, he's a major player.
Well, this is a horse that at one time for trainer Chad Brown or Peter Brandt had the potential to be a stakes horse, and it's a tough game, and it just never really panned out. A 7-year-old who's had a lot of issues and a lot of stops and starts. But this was a solid effort when he finished third behind Looking at Roses, who was in very good form back then. Now, he came back from that effort. He came back in about 3 weeks, and he did not run a step. It's also 11-1 that day, and running against a good horse and Constitution Lawyer. I think the 1-turn mile suits him. We have a track that's been kind to horses making outside runs. We saw a closer win the last race, and so I'm not going to be surprised to do him well. And at 7-1, he's an overlay. I mean, the board is very skewed right now because I guess it's Joe Day, and these horses with these proper names. And it's funny, Greg, you and I have talked about it quite a bit, and there's actually people using their algorithms, major bettors who use computers, where they actually do factor in. I was discussing this with a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, that names and horses being overbet because of names and bad. And in fact, I've been meaning to tell you this. I had this conversation at lunch on Monday, and I said, I can't wait to tell Greg Wolf this, because you and I have been talking about it for years, right? You've started to see how proper names and a horse named Joe. I mean, the lesson in there is if you own a horse and you like to gamble, don't use people's names in there, because they're always going to take some money in there. Yeah. And you got to be thinking about that. And clearly now the 8 horse is not surprisingly we've been calling even money.
And yeah, there is. Look at who this horse has been competing against. Bourbon calling out even money favorite, and it just kind of towers over the rest of this field.
Well, you've got Keystone Field, who has back figures that can win. To a slightly lesser extent, you have Mystic Knight, who's got figures that can be competitive. But these are, sort of suspect horses. Both of them are off last races, didn't run that well. Linda Rice claimed Keystone Field at Churchill, and for 62.5 is running for 40. And while Linda's had so much success with those kind of claims, claiming for 62.5 and running for 40, that's not what you want to do with a horse. So there's things there that make you suspicious. And then you look at the speed figures for Bourbon Calling and looking at the buyer figs. 86, 89, 87, 88 since being claimed by Rob Atras. There's a very reasonable chance that if he runs any of those figures, he probably is less than even money to win this race. Yeah. And he doesn't come in with the same kind of questions. And he draws outside. So if you're looking at this sequence and you're thinking, where can I lean on somebody? If you don't have the money to have to be able to do more than spread in every race, he's probably the best single. I mean, Greg, do you think there's a horse in the sequence that's going to be as short a price as him? I don't.
No,
I don't even think it's close.
He is it, and I think he's deserving of it too.
Yeah.
But you look at this board, and there's a look at the man who's going to ride the horse we're about to talk about. The biggest surprise to me is the price that Keystone Field, the 7, is at right now.
I agree. Now, the board's a bit skewed because of all the weird money on Gentleman Joe, who is completely uncompetitive off his win for Rick Dutrow off the claim. Is this horse, I mean, even his bad effort was fast enough to probably beat Gentleman Joe last time. Yeah, I have to imagine this horse will be second choice by post, right? Are they just telling us he can't run anymore?
From this barn, too, Linda Rice off the claim. We talked about it earlier before our show came on. This horse had huge efforts at Oaklawn, at Churchill, at Keeneland. I know it was a while ago, but end of 22, beginning of 23.
Well, you and I were talking, we did the handicapping show earlier, almost a year ago, January 7th of last year. He has an effort at Oaklawn Park that we can guarantee you if he runs today, he will win this race. I mean, that was an incredible effort.
9 years old now.
Yeah.
But obviously Linda Rice saw something in him that makes her think there's more left in the tank. And that just 3 starts ago, this horse was in a grade 3.
And she claimed a horse, keep this in mind, for $62,500 is 9 years old, knowing that this horse can't race at NYRA in 2025 and beyond, because we don't let 10-year-olds run, a rule I don't understand at all, but nonetheless, it's a rule. So she had high hopes for this horse, but obviously they've already been somewhat dashed running him for 40 today.
There's Linda Rice, smashed the year-end record, making history with 165 winners in 2023, eclipsing the old mark by 1 win. She did it on the final day of the year. What a year she had. You can follow along with all the stats on the horses, jockeys, trainers by downloading free Equibase past performances. Go to NYRA.com/TV schedule and get your free past performances. As she talks things over, Linda Rice, with her pilot today, Kendrick Carmouche, who will hop aboard this 9-year-old now, first off to claim and for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and we had a chance to catch up with Kendrick a little bit. We'll talk a little bit later about it on that crazy win he had here on Sunday's card with the first-time starter. And always good to catch up with Kendrick. And there you see it, that patented Kendrick Carmouche smile. And he's always ready for action.
What a ride he had. You caught up with him. We're going to have that for you later in the show. Before we came on the air on Sunday.
Yeah, that was one. You know, it was one of the more interesting races you'll see. And I think one of the things that we find so interesting about horse racing is watching the races and seeing unusual situations that apply. You know, the last race we ran here, the horse that just got up the wire to win, who seemingly snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. You and I were talking about that horse earlier. That's a horse that had been up in Saratoga. And when the field turned for home, they had almost hit the 3/16 pole by the time the horse even came in the picture and came flying and had a huge gallop out. And today it galloped out just in time to win the race.
I still don't know how that horse won.
Last race, pretty amazing. That kicked off the pick six, the third choice at 3-1.
Yeah, we had a $13,000 carryover in the pick six. That, of course, started, as Andy said, in the last race. Pick five carryover starts here. Thunderian starts things off.
Yeah, going out from the rail, and he's going to have to get better position. As a horse with speed in the inside, he may be doomed to an inside trip for a barn that's been white hot.
Mystic Knight at a price and a contender.
He's too big a price in this race. I think he's at worst the third likeliest winner of this race because he has races good enough. He may not run it today, but he has a good running style for this track.
There's Alternate Reality getting a big warm-up under Trevor McCarthy.
I always liked this horse, and he's kind of the outside closing mold, but where his race is fast enough to win.
He'll stretch back out today. Gentleman Joey opened up, taking all that money for the Rick Dutrow barn.
Going back, he does have some fast races, but his win for Rick off the claim and layoff wasn't fast enough to contend. He'd have to improve substantially.
Here's the 9-year-old. First off the claim for Linda Rice, caught Mig's Eye in the paddock.
And the money's coming in, and he'll clearly be the second choice by post time, and justifiably so.
And Bourbon Calling, even money favorite, and now he kicks up to 6-5.
And you have to imagine a lot of people's hopes in this pick five will be riding on this horse, and especially if you're playing for smaller money. And I agree with what Jonathan said. And right now we've got $582,000 plus added to the pool, making for a total of just under $700,000. You got to have a few dollars in this. You have to try to take advantage of these circumstances. They're great. And I think if you have a relatively limited budget, this is probably the wisest place for you to single.
Let's head back downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, guys, I'm just going to stray a little bit from what I looked at in the paddock and talk about the two-horse Mystic Knight. Two things I found very interesting. One, that it's nice to see that Cantermassi's getting an opportunity for another stable, Flying P stable, Jay Provenzano, giving them an opportunity. And this is, you know, racehorses come in all different shapes and sizes, and on the racetrack, you know, pretty is as pretty does. He's just a big, burly son of Into Mischief, which is something that we see from the Into Mischiefs a great deal. Just a lot of good, strong bone on him, very solid individual. The 7 horse is going to be my top selection, Keystone Field. I liked him in the paddock. I continue to like him in the warm-up. I think he's well drawn, and I think he projects to get a good trip under Kendrick Carmouche. Your favorite, Bourbon Calling, he checks all the boxes as well. He's just a really attractive individual that looks terrific on paper, and he's also well drawn from the outside. I came down to who I just liked a little bit better from a physical perspective, and that was number 7, Keystone Field.
Big thanks, who, as we said, over a year ago, he would have been the favorite in this race. His last
He wouldn't have been in this race over a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. Last couple of races, though, he's going to need better against the likes of a Bourbon Calling.
I agree, and you can't love the claim and drop down, but he is the best alternative if you're looking to try to beat the favorite here. And I play tiered pick fives and putting up a ticket. I'm going to use A, B's, and C's in multiple tickets. I would play this and use the 8 is an A. The 7 is a B, and the 2 is a C, and anyone else would beat me. I think in the 5th race, I would probably use the 3, 7, and maybe the 8, between 3 A's and B's in there. I know you like the 5 Aloose. I'd have her as a C. race number 6. I think the 3, 7, and 8 would be A's and B's for me. I'm going to try to beat Chuck Willis. He'd be a C for me. I understand you like him too, as Jonathan does, but I don't really trust him in this race off the claim. The 7th race, I'd want to get them all in my tickets. I have a thing for Fluid Situation, who's not a great pick 6 type horse, pick 5 type horse, but I would probably use Nova Rags, Fluid Situation as A's, factored in the 2 and the 6 Swiftsure as B's, and maybe even try to get 24 Mambo in there, and the 1 is a C. It depends what you can use. The last race, I would lean on Cloud Forest as my A. I know you like Apollo Rising, a horse that I wasn't a fan of. I would lean on the 3 and 4 in there as my A's, maybe the 1 as a B or C.
Difficult sequence,
Yeah.
but this 8 horse, again, this is going to be the shortest price favorite in this sequence. Look at that, 786,000. It's still growing. Additional money bet into this carryover.
Right. Additional is it's the additional money is 786 minus 117.
Oh, sorry.
So there's 670, but still, I mean, right now you've got over 5 times the carryover being bet, almost 6 times the carryover being bet, and so we're
That's
seeing
what total means.
Yeah, the total. Well, I'm saying what the total, the number, the new money being bet.
No,
so
I got
right,
it wrong.
It's okay. I'm forgiving you. You've got over 5 times the carryover bet today. Now we have roughly 690,000 being bet, which is close to 6 times.
Well, that money finally coming down on Keystone Field to 7. So Linda Rice, first off the claim, had such a great year because of, largely in part, all those claims in Kentucky. Here's another one. Kendrick Carmouche on board, steps in right there with the 7, now a 9-year-old, and here's the even money favorite, Bourbon Calling, to kick off this big carryover in the late pick 5. Let's go upstairs for the call. Chris Griffin.
And they're off. Bourbon Calling breaks very well from the outside. It's Bourbon Calling, and now here comes the rest of the rivals with Gentleman Joe. In between horses, right there is Mystic Knight, and Mystic Knight now puts a nose at front. It's a scramble on for the lead. Thundurian's going to try and push on through, and here comes Thundurian also to now challenge for that early lead. It's going to be Mystic Knight in the 2 path at the rail. Thundurian there now 1-2. Just off of them is Gentleman Joe. It's going to stalk in the 3rd position, is within a half length of the battling duo. It's a snug hold here on Bourbon Calling, just kind of moving along, loping along in that 4th position with Alternate Reality. The early trailer will be Keystone Field at the back of the pack when they went 23-3 for the opening quarter mile. Thundurian at 7-1 has got the lead as ahead in front of Mystic Knight, who's challenging right to the outside here for Ruben Silvera in 2nd with less than a half mile to go. 46-4, that half mile time, and here's Gentleman Joe 3 wide. Alternate Reality and Trevor McCarthy's got a tight hold here. That runner at 13-1 is right in behind rivals in the 4 spot. Bourbon Calling has got to pick it up from there, is now losing ground. The favorite is losing ground, is 5 lengths back. The trailer is Keystone Field as they're approaching the quarter pole. Gentleman Joe and Jose Lezcano, they've got the lead. Can Alternate Reality switch towards the outside? And here comes Alternate Reality with a big run. Alternate Reality, the big price to the outside here of Gentleman Joe, who's battling on at 7-2. Mystic Knight is back to 3rd inside the final furlong. It is still Gentleman Joe with the head in front, but Alternate Reality up alongside. Late run here, Keystone Field. Alternate Reality is now up by a half length. Alternate Reality to kick off the late pick 5 at 13-1, the longest shot in the field. Gentleman Joe was trying to hold off Mystic Knight in the photo there for 2nd. Keystone Field and Bourbon Calling in 1 minute 37-1.
13-1, biggest price on the board, beating what's probably going to be the shortest price favorite in this sequence to kick off this pick 5 carryover.
Right, and that noise you're hearing in the background, there's a lot of tickets and a lot of money going up in smoke, and it was obvious fairly early in the race that the number 8, the favorite, Bourbon Calling, just wasn't running today. And for these horses to run 1-2, obviously both the 7 and 8 didn't show up. Neither one of them on paper were fast enough to win if those horses ran their races. Alternate Reality horse that I've always had a thing for going back. I could never have picked him here. I mean, last time he lost a race at a fast pace against significantly inferior horses. And today he got the right trip and he got it done. I'm happy for Trevor McCarthy. Surprising speed from Mystic Knight, who was coming back at the end. But if you're alive, I wish you the best of luck. You are going to be one of a very small percentage of the pool that's alive. This horse is 13-1. Would you be surprised if this horse had as little as 5% of the pool? Because every relatively small ticket has gone up in smoke. I don't believe there's too many people that put in less than $100 that are still alive. Is that fair?
Watch out right there. Trevor McCarthy trying his best to hang on to this horse. But, yeah, this horse played, I think, a lot bigger than even 13-1.
Poor Trevor. He can't win for losing here. Oh, he's a little shaken up. I hope he's okay. Whew. Tough job.
A bit of a limp there from Trevor McCarthy. Did his best to hold that horse up as long as he could. We're going to take a timeout. We'll be back when we return. We'll get you over to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Check in with Paul LaDuca as we get set for their third race coming up in those muddy conditions with a claiming non-winners at 2 life condition ahead.
Olympiad leads American Revolution. Olympiad gets the gold in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with NYRA Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with NYRA Bets.
Nothing stood in his way. War of Will won the Preakness.
At the line, War of Will, that's a photo for the win. Hey, 650,000.
War of Will, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Good to have you with us on this Friday edition of America's Day at the Races as we check in live the first time today in Hot Springs, Arkansas, race 3 at Oaklawn. Post time coming up, 6 furlong sprint. Muddy track condition, and this a $15,000 claiming race, so all for sale for that price for horses who only have a maiden win on the resume. And always smiling right now, even money favorite, Peter Miller, Ricardo Santana Jr. Let's check in with Paul LaDuca for more.
Thanks, Greg. And yeah, we're going to start off actually the card today, race number 3, a little bit earlier than usual here at America's Day at the Races. We had a lot of rain throughout the night last night and some cold temperatures. So actually, this is the first time the sun's come out. It's about, I would say, about 20 degrees with the wind chill factor. It's a good about 10 degrees down here. It's a little chilly. These riders are tough as can be to come out and ride in here. The racetrack, muddy. I don't know if I would call it sticky, but it looks like, at least for the first couple of races, you need to be towards the lead. And with that said, you know, you look at the 10 horse in here who's taking all the money for Peter Miller, a filly by Bayern, putting the blinkers on, and she's so speed in California. And I'm wondering if she can clear this field here from the outside. I think that's what the public is thinking at even money. You know, the 9 here, Mike Cajun Lady, she comes out of a mile race, and she ran so well that day. She battled with the winner all the way down to the lane. I'm just a little bit worried on the cutback where she lays in this race. You know, I kind of landed on the 1. I didn't think the 10-1 morning line would hold up. I know this horse was 54-1 last time out against much tougher group. And, you know, Eusebio Rufino has gotten off to a decent start. He's had a couple horses run pretty well. You get Ramon Vasquez, who's an aggressive jockey. So, Greg, I'll go with the 1 here at 3-1. I know the Peter Miller horse might be tough, but let's stay and watch these races because it looks like the horses that are forward have been winning the first two.
Paulie, thanks. I mean, it almost seems, Andy, like the 10 was gifted this race in some ways because the 6 and the 8, the two other primary speeds, both scratched.
I couldn't agree more, Greg. If you want horses that are forward, and I know the horses even money, and I'll root for Paulie, the 10 looks like the clear speed on paper.
Post time coming up. Even money on Always Smiling from that outside post with Ricardo Santana Jr. You see that one stepping in. Matt Dinnerman the call.
We're ready to go. And we're off. Uneventful break for all the runners. From the inside, Ghost Bayou put into play as a narrow lead early. Minnie's ready on the outside right there to apply the heat. Always Smiling, aggressively ridden to be up there with that firing line. Always Smiling with a head lead. Ghost Bayou back to second. Minnie's ready concedes the lead. Is clearly tracking now in third. My Cajun Lady right behind her. A gap of 2 to the gray. Cupid's Music with Byzantine. Missy Piggy has one runner beat. That's Tis Sweet Candy, who's the trailer. Always Smiling is the leader. Always Smiling into the turn, a length in front. My Cajun Lady, Nick Juarez, sounds the alarm aboard her, and she's moving up to come and challenge. And these two lock horns around the turn. My Cajun Lady with a nice move here, taking the lead away. And Always Smiling under a hard ride, needs to re-rally, is losing second to Ghost Bayou. Always Smiling retreats to third, then Minnie's ready. The other's out of it. Byzantine trying to rally on from the inside, still has 3 lengths to gain as My Cajun Lady leads the way. Midnight Bayou inside right there with her. Now Midnight Bayou's finding her best stride, takes the head lead. Cajun Lady not done, fighting back. Byzantine into third with a 16th to go. It's Ghost Bayou and Ramon Vasquez a length in front now, and Ghost Bayou at 7-2 gets the job done. My Cajun Lady second, Byzantine third across the line. Always Smiling in the center of the track holds fourth.
Drop down in class, the backing of Paul LaDuca, and Ghost Bayou gets the win here in the third in Hot Springs.
It's better than Paul. He's starting us out with that 7-2 winner, and boy, the favorite, I mean, he made the lead, but you could see around that 5/16 3/8 ball was dead empty, and along came Ghost Bayou coming up the inside. Ramon Vasquez getting the job done, and Paulie starts us out with a 7-2 winner. Nice job.
And we start our show off with 2 even money favorites defeated.
Out of the money. Not only that, out of the exacta. I mean, the trifecta. 10 to salvage the super there.
Back to New York. Tough one to see coming with a 13-1 shot. Biggest price on the board. Kicking off this massive late pick 5 carryover at Aqueduct.
I'm rooting for you if you're alive in this pick 5. This was not easy to do. And it's just a horse that, honestly, I don't know exactly how you like this horse unless you just believe that the major contenders weren't going to show up, because on paper, it's just not fast enough to win. I say that as somebody who's always had a thing for this horse, just couldn't see it today.
Alternate Reality, 13-1, as you said, that could play in this Big 5 a lot bigger than that. 28-40 start, and you saw after the race, we had it on our air, Trevor McCarthy trying to get this horse pulled up, had to bail out, fell on his knees, it looked like. Saw him limping briefly. As you take a look at how we start here in this Big 5 with an update, let's go back to Mig.
Yeah, Greg, Andy, maybe the only thing tougher than coming up with Alternate Reality is jockeys in general. Trevor was unseated. He said Alternate Reality has a habit or a tendency to want to wheel on the gallop out or when he's pulling up, and he did it with him a while ago, back in December. He said he started to wheel to the left, thought he had him corrected, and then when he felt him a little off balance, he went back to the right and unseated him. Trevor was also unseated this morning, worked the horse out of the gate on the Belmont training track, went a ways, and the horse just tripped himself, lost his footing. Thankfully, horse and Trevor were okay, but that's twice in one day Trevor was unseated, but he still found his way to the winner's circle. Like I said, these men and women are just about as tough as they make them.
Supposed to be able to breathe easy after a win, go get your picture taken. Not the case here with Alternate Reality. Always got to be on your toes.
Yeah, I had heard that he was unseated over this morning, and I'm glad he's riding today, and hopefully he's okay going forward. But agreed. I mean, you win a race, you're excited you win a race, and then that happens especially. But I guess, if you're going to get seated after the race, it's a little better, at least if you won.
I think it helps.
It doesn't help if you run. If you get beat a nose and then you get dumped, it kind of really suck.
Late pick 4 coming up next, and if you're a NYRA Bets player, little extra opportunity here.
Yes, if like many of us, you have been eliminated from pick 5, opt in over at NYRA Bets, and there's a $2,000 hit and split. You'll share that among people that hit the pick 4, and I'll tell you something, we are very likely headed to a 2-day pick 6 carryover. It wasn't a huge carryover to begin with, of 13,000, and you know, 850 the first race, but a third choice at 850, and then in the second winner, I got to imagine there is not a lot of money still alive in that play.
Saw that horse hit the rail right out of the gate. This was back on Sunday, race 4. Way back, about 12 wide, somehow gets up to win. Andy got a chance to catch up with the winning pilot on Crimson Lights. Kendra Carmouche, we'll have that for you when we come back. We're back on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage. And the late pick 4 coming up in New York. We'll get into the 4th at Oaklawn. Coming up, muddy conditions. Back in race 3 goes Bayou. Given out by Paula Duca. Nice call, 7-2 with Ramon Vasquez aboard.
You get a gold star when you beat the even money shot. You know, that's the thing. You try to beat the favorite and you get it done. That's a little bit extra there. And nice job by Paul and a nice ride by Ramon Vasquez getting it done. The favorite, you could just see in the turn, didn't have it today.
$9.60 for the win, just 1 for 16 coming in. Danny Caldwell owns Toby Keith's Dream Walking Farms. And a 5-year-old mare by Go Sapper with the victory. Short segment.
But a lot of good info in there.
Yes, there was. It was packed.
Really packed.
We'll be back with more in a moment. 5th, pick 4 coming up. 6.5 furlongs, New York bred. First allowance condition ahead, and Lil Lindsay likely will be the favorite at post time. Stay with us.
$250, $260.
First time I saw Epicenter was a Keeneland September sale, and he went immediately from there to my parents' place in Laredo, Texas. So I was fortunate to be involved with him early on. He was somebody we were always extremely high on physically. He was capable of speed, but it was quite obvious the further they went, the better off he would be. He had won the preps gate to wire going into the Louisiana Derby, and it was an opportunity to show another dimension of him, and he handled it extremely professionally and developed that style from there.
It's Epicenter, who's kicked away now. Epicenter wins the Louisiana Derby.
With his talent level, we were always hoping and thinking classics, and him being the one. The times that he yielded, the numbers that he put down late in his 2-year-old year, early 3-year-old year is as good as it gets. Quite obvious, the Derby and the Preakness and how, the outcome of that being frustrating. But if anything, Epicenter showed a grittiness, toughness, didn't let any of that hurt his feelings, and rebounded with emphatic victories and showed exactly how good he could be.
And he's the center of attention now. Epicenter comes from off the pace to win the Jim Dandy Stakes. Epicenter in front, and he is at the top of the 3-year-old class. Epicenter with a very top-notch finish in the Run Happy Travers.
He separates himself. His mental strength, physical strength, always looked tremendous on the racetrack. Every time you breezed him, worked him. The brilliance that can come along with Giant's Causeway. It's not lost on me that gun runners out of a Giant's Causeway mare, when they are good, they're better than everybody else.
You're watching America's Day of the Races on FS2. Andy, again, why are we supposed to play this late pick 4?
Well, you're getting that $2,000 hit and split, and you share it with other people that hit it. And, before people say, oh, well, it'll pay such and I'll split it with the 100 people. Oh, I had friends that have taken down half the pool, the only winner with it. And it can only be free money if you hit it. And me, like a lot of people, dead in the pick 5, come back and play a little bit if you're playing through NYRA Bets, and it's a little bit extra.
Again, it kicks off with the New York bred first allowance condition race, 6.5 furlong sprint. That was the one we showed you going to break. That filly, Little Lindsay, making her 3rd start off the bench. Katie Davis will ride. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, and I love what I'm seeing from number 3, Little Lindsay. I mean, she just makes a beautiful impression, carrying great weight. I honestly don't think I've ever seen her look any better, which is, usually kind of unusual this time of year, but she's really carrying wonderful condition. Her owner breeder, Jan Derschmidt, does a really good job, breeds a nice horse up there in Pine Plains. In fact, is on the old Jimmy Cagney estate up there, and does a really good job with her horses, and I like what I'm seeing from number 3, Little Lindsay. The 5 Voluse making the first start for Mike Maselli after breaking her maiden for maiden 30. She was what I call cinchy, right? When they tighten the girth on horses, sometimes horses with sensitive skin, they'll walk off and they don't look good walking off, but once they kind of stretch that skin out and they move a lot freer, and she's just really looks good, can't falter whatsoever. And the 7, Harlan's Bound, for a horse that made 13 starts in 2023. Credit to Dave Donk. She carries wonderful condition, really has not backed off, obviously, from the feed tub whatsoever, just making a real nice impression. I think she's going to fire a big shot today.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on it, Mig. Thank you. Take a look there at Harlan's Bond. David Donk barn. Jose Gomez will be aboard. And Jose Gomez, somewhat shockingly, winning the opening race on today's card. Game misconduct.
Stayed out in the middle of the racetrack. Strange race. The favorite, who was off a layoff, just didn't show up with a bad 3rd in there. Jose had a couple winners, 2 winners, I think, on yesterday's card as well.
Pick 4 pool closing in on $100,000 here as we take a look here at Dashing Della.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to get my act together here. Dashing Della has the misfortune of drawing inside. Is not totally impossible, but I just thought there were faster horses.
Lavon, 16-1 is the biggest price on the board.
This horse wins, and we're definitely looking at pick 6 carryover, and we're looking at a gigantic pick 5 payout.
Here is Little Lindsay, the favorite. Got beat by a filly's won 3 in a row last start.
Katie Davis got to make sure she stays away from the rail in here on a very logical horse that I think you and I both like.
Yankee Agate blinkers go on for Rudy Rodriguez.
Yeah, I was just making the 2nd start for Rudy. Has the speed to be forward in here and did get a muddy track last time.
Voluse just broke her maiden 12th career start against Softer.
Yeah, but you said this morning we talked about it. She's got back races fast enough to compete.
Queen's over 3 is probably the speed of the field.
She is the speed of the race, but I imagine this rider will be going inside, and that's not going to help.
Harlan's Bond. Here's the David Donk filly.
She's a very logical horse, too, and she drew well towards the outside. A horse that finished behind Little Lindsay, but ran fine in there.
And True Empress was dominating at Finger Lakes to end the year.
Right, unless you feel as though the muddy track was an excuse last time, though, you have to say, is she a horse that runs well at Finger Lakes and not as well here? But if you think the muddy track was an excuse, she draws well on the outside, and she does have the credentials to be a player.
13-1 to start this late pick 5. Do things get easier from here? Let's go to Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, it gets easier for me because I'm not alive anymore, so I don't have to be stressed out, and I can just sit here and be sad and try to figure out why I didn't have the 4 in the last, and then I can decide if I'm going to play the pick 4 back, and then maybe the pick 3 if that doesn't go well. It's the life of a horse player, guys. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. Look, I like the one Dashing Della in here. I was very excited about this kind of being a price horse that you could maybe look to in this sequence. I thought the first leg was a horse that you could lean on that was a short price. But Dashing Della is one that, you know, if you look at the way that she runs her races, it suggests that the cutback from 7 furlongs might kind of help her out a little bit. She seems to get a little bit late in her races from a pace figure standpoint. She seems to kind of slow down as the races get longer. So I'm hoping that cutting back from the 8 furlongs two races back, the 7 furlongs last race, will kind of help her finish out her race a little bit. And look, I'm one of those folks that really respects hopeful that Dashing Della's inside. It doesn't necessarily mean she take back, you know, pop away from there, find your forward position, let them kind of run away from you. She's not the fastest horse early, and then kind of when you make that run, circle the field. Very similarly to what we saw, kind of the same position we saw with the 4 alternate Reality last time. So look, I was going to use 4 in here, 1, 3, 5, and 7, but the one I thought offered the most value. Richie?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you talk about value, Jonathan. I was vacillating back and forth between the 3, Little Lindsay, who is your favorite, and the 7, Harlan's Bond. I think they both make sense on paper, and they both look outstanding from a physical perspective. Now, I try not to let you know, my sentimentality, I'm a bit of a homer. I'm a big fan of Jan Derschmidt and her breeding program, and they are basically in my same neighborhood. I live not far from her farm, and I think Little Lindsay could be very tough here. But ultimately, I went with the 7, Harlan's Bond, because I agree with Andy. I don't really think you want to be too close to the inside. I think horses on the outside are having a little bit of the best of it today. I was really taken with her condition for a horse that basically was running at least once a month the entirety of last year for Dave Donk, and I think she looks outstanding on the racetrack. Her energy level, and I think the way the race sets up and the position she's going to have in rallying from the outside should really suit. And she's down to 3-1 now, but I went that way. Harlan's Bond, I think she rallies on the outside.
Well, rematch with Little Lindsay, who rolled by her when they met last time out on a muddy sealed track, but fast going today, extra half furlong today, different scenario.
You know, I'm going to be off after our races, and Migliore is going to feature me. I want you to get to the bottom of this Richie and the Derschmitz thing. You know, I want to get the full
I feel like there's
story.
a bigger story
I think
there.
there's a bigger story there. I really do, and I want it.
Might have a feature on it coming up.
Yeah, I'll watch the
Pick 4 pool, by the way. Don't forget to opt in if you're an Ira Bets player and share that $2,000 if you hit it with all the winning tickets. As JK selection, 11-1, stepping in there at the 1, Dashing Della.
I'm chalking it up with you with the number 3 here, Little Lindsay. I'll be surprised if the 3, 7, or 8 don't win here, but I'm not exactly seeing the ball that well right now.
Katie Davis for Dominic Schettino with Little Lindsay. As we get set for the late pick 4, let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin, the call.
True Empress goes in. All set. And they're off. Queens over 3s right out to the front, and Little Lindsay is right there. These two speed off together. True Empress towards the outside is there with Harlan's Bond. In between horses, Yankee Agate wants a piece of that early action, is hustled along but not making it to the top 2. It's still Queens over 3s and Little Lindsay, they're 1-2, splitting those rivals. Here comes Yankee Agate, wants to be a part of the early action, and Yankee Agate has really pushed this early tempo, 23 seconds flat, and those top 3, they are now 5 in front of Harlan's Bond and Jose Gomez. They move to the outside of Dashing Della. They're 4th and 5th, but have some pace to chase as the trio continues to go at it. True Empress, then comes Velouz, who's towards the back end of the field, and right now far, far back, that's LeBon, the late runner, as they're approaching the quarter pole. It is Queens over 3s, but the rest are coming now. Little Lindsay down towards the inside. Yankee Agate in between horses. Harlan's Bond is switching to the outside. The closers are coming. Velouz is looking for a way through. Also, here comes Dashing Della, who's going to get the split. True Empress on the grandstand side. Queens over 3s, but here comes Harlan's Bond as the pace starts to melt down. Harlan's Bond is taking the lead. In between horses, here comes Velouz, who's now making a big run in True Empress. They're chasing Harlan's Bond, who got the jump. It's 3 down to the line. Harlan's Bond is almost there. True Empress lunging. Yankee Agate trying to run on. Tails off. It's going to be Harlan's Bond. Harlan's Bond gets the win over True Empress, then Velouz, who finished 3rd. Queens over 3s and Dashing Della in 1 minute, 19 flat.
2 wins today and counting for last year's Eclipse Award winner's Outstanding Apprentice, Jose Gomez. It's Harlan's Bond at 3-1.
Well, I mean, this race was set up by the very surprising tactics, particularly by Katie Davis on the 3 Little Lindsay. I don't know what you're thinking. You've got a guaranteed speed on the 6. You let that horse go and you get outside of her. You don't want to engage a horse like that. Surprising, because Kay's not really that kind of rider. She may well have been riding to instructions, and if she was, they were poor instructions. And that happened. These outside closers are just stacked up and set up for them. And even on a fair racetrack, you probably would have seen the race run like this. And the 2 outside horses ending up run 2. Dylan Davis did a good job with Velouz getting the outside and ended up helping as well. But perfect setup for Harlan's Bond and a logical result.
3-1, beating a 9-5 favorite. So even money, 9-5 favorites beat the first 2 legs of this big pick 5 carryover. And again, 2 today for Jose Gomez. He won the opener.
Yeah, and he just, got the right kind of setup and the right trip. But all 3 of the first 3 got a setup, and this pace really heated up with the surprising tactics on Little Lindsay.
7-8, 5-6. Harlan's Bond now 2 for 14. David Donkbarn owns part of this filly as well. And again, Jose Gomez aboard for the win. Back to Hot Springs, race 4. Non-winners at 2 lifetime condition. Again here, $20,000 tag for everybody up for sale for that price. And it's the 4 Desert Wolf, Robertino Diodoro, with the current 2-1 favorite.
Looks to be the speed in this race, I imagine, is the speed of the speed. But there are some others in here. The 9, the 12 could be forward. But I thought with that position, that horse looks like the speed. But I don't know that's going to be an easy pace. I had the race open to 1, 4, 6, 8, and 9, Greg. Okay, since you were asking.
I was. No, I want to know that.
See it on the tip of your tongue.
Life on the Nile, the 9 for Dan Ward. Yeah, and that horse you would expect is going to try and be forward as well.
I'm just waiting for Paulie.
Well, so far, see if he can keep it going. That was a great selection, beating an even money favorite with a 7-2 shot in our first live race from Oaklawn today on the network. Fight and Ready comes off a win, was a 1-2 favorite in that race.
Yeah. The thing is, that was a maiden lower level claiming race for a trainer whose numbers off the claim are okay, but not at Oaklawn.
First start at Oaklawn this meet for Ain't That a Kick did not go well.
No, doesn't look good enough in here.
Mr. Cougar, 42-1.
No, looks to be a better turf horse.
Here's the favorite for the Diodoro barn.
Just go to the front with this horse and hope he's good enough.
Asset Basis. Colby Hernandez.
Yeah, this horse has been in a number of barns. He's going to have to run a lot better than the race at Oaklawn turning back last time. Stretches out again, though.
14-1 next door on this 4-year-old Star Nation for Gary Hartledge.
Doesn't have any speed, but does drop down again. I didn't think was completely impossible. Has races that makes him a little interesting at a price.
Yeah, some decent form at Hawthorne. Actually, a decent race at Churchill as well. My brother Keith claimed, now with Steve Asmussen, and Keith will ride.
Seems odd that Steve Asmussen had to claim the horse, the 4th trainer in a row to get a horse named my brother Keith.
Julestown.
Thought this horse
7-1.
was okay on the drop down. Synthetic to Dirt, this trainer has exceptionally good stats overall.
Life on the Nile had some big expectations at one point.
And second off a layoff, seems like the form is declining.
Chrome Run, son of California Chrome, the Derby winner.
Really just not good enough. Been running on the turf recently.
Vincenzino, off since November.
We have seen Norm might have some success with these synthetic horses. Now this one's pedigree is not screaming dirt.
Yeah, Shaman Ghost, never been on dirt, that 11. And here's the 12, Boogie Bodie.
Moves up off the last race where he ran well, but has to overcome a tough post stretching out, and there's other speeds inside. So what kind of trip is he going to work out?
Ran okay the only time he did go long, on dirt anyway. That was at a mile at Horseshoe Indy. Post time coming up for the 4th. Let's go to Paul Duca.
Yeah, and I thought a difficult race here, too, as well. I mean, as you can tell, they are shortening up the post parades because of the weather. But when you get to the 4 in here, to Charles Garvey charge here, Desert Wolf for Robertino Diodoro, I agree with you guys. I think this horse could be the speed of the speed. Been off since November. You know, they've added blinkers to this horse the last 3 starts. In the last 2 starts, at least, you know, he's run a little bit better, where he's been a little bit faster on the front end. I don't trust him at that price. So I thought there were so many different ways you can go. I actually agree with Andy a little bit in here with the horse that can win this race. I think the 1 has got a big shot. I also think the 9 for Gary Red Dog Hartledge is another runner in here. But fighting ready for Scott Becker. Here's the issue I do have. The horse was 50 cents on the dollar when winning on a muddy racetrack. He claimed this horse off Jonas Gibson on the drop in Flurry Racing, and he wheels the horse right back, but I think it's a reasonable spot right back in the 20s, so I could see the 1 coming right back to win. I ultimately landed on the 8, and I know I've been telling you guys that forward horses have been the key. This horse has been forward before around a couple turns, and Genaro Garcia claims this horse. This horse has got some really good numbers to go back to. Actually was just 7-1, just got hit down to 5-1. You get Martin Schwann aboard for Southwest Racing Stable. You know, Andy made an also good point. His Genaro Garcia stats off synthetic have been great. I tell you what, we've had like 2 or 3 horses ship in here from Turfway Park. They've done really well, and Woodbine. So synthetic to here has been a winning recipe, JK. I know we're both on the same horse here in Julestown with Martin Schwann and Genaro Garcia.
Yeah, Paulie, I landed here actually basically ignoring that synthetic race like it never even existed, and looking at the race 3 back. And if you look at that race 3 back while on the dirt at Keeneland, that performance absolutely can win this race. And then you look at a situation where the horse completely missed the break, had a terrible trip, wide, no shot at Churchill Downs. So I can ignore that one. And then shows up and runs on synthetic, which is obviously not the same as dirt. So if you draw a line through those 2, what would this horse be off of that race 3 back? And that's why I landed on the 8 Julestown, who you're getting 5-1 on now. I don't expect maybe another click down, 4-1, but I can digest that also. So I'll take the 8 Julestown, pretending the last 2 races didn't happen, and let's find that race from 3 back.
Well, if that's the case, yeah, it's going to make this one a very tough customer, the 8 Julestown. 5-1 right now. That was a second-place performance against a horse who'd come back to win again at Keeneland, the race that Jonathan's referencing with Julestown.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers in dirt sprints going synthetic dirt are very good for this trainer. Not as good going longer, not as well as Oaklawn, but he has shown an ability. He's 22% with a 241 overall ROI going synthetic to dirt.
And, you know, the 9 had so many opportunities where he almost broke through in open company maiden special weight races, some straight maiden races.
Yeah, and he
big drop today.
He feels as though, you know, an interesting race. Listen, I'm not going to be surprised when the 4 wires the field, but he could get some pressure from either or both the 9 and 12. It depends how much pressure he gets.
Matt Dinnerman, the calls we get set. Here's the 4th from Oaklawn.
Vincenzino. Working with Vincencio. Asset basis, Stardation go in. Vincenzino takes his spot and one back. Boogie Bodie to the outside. Here's Boogie Bodie. We're ready to go. And Leroff off slowly, fighting ready. Also slow away was Chrome Run. Desert Wolf put into play as a share of the lead with Boogie Bodie. Julestown between that pair. Those three across the track entering the clubhouse turn. Julestown from between horses has the head lead. Desert Wolf concedes that lead, and Boogie Bodie is on the outside of Julestown pressing the pace. Desert Wolf taken back to third. Life on the Nile right behind them in the fourth spot. Vincenzino is next, 3 deep, 3 off the pace, approaching the backstretch. A gap of another 2.5 or 3 to My Brother Keith with Asset Basis. They're 5 clear of Mr. Cougar and Fighting Ready. They run as a pair. Then Chrome Run, third last. Second to last is Star Nation. And Ain't That a Kick is at the back. A strung out group led by Julestown, who leads the way under Martin Schwann. Opens up that lead without being asked to a length and a half. Julestown comfortable on the front end. Desert Wolf on the inside, slips inside of Boogie Bodie as Life on the Nile is a clear fourth, 2 off the pace into the turn. Vincenzino is sent along. My Brother Keith needs to turn it around. He's under pressure. Asset Basis just joins him. A gap of 4 to Mr. Cougar sent along. Fighting Ready's not going to get it done, nor is Chrome Run, and Ain't That a Kicks at the rear. Approaching the top of the lane, Julestown still does it well on the front end. He's going strong, Julestown, and Julestown off the turn, giving the others something to think about here. Julestown, a length and a half. Desert Wolf trying to switch off the fence. He's going to stay inside. Boogie Bodie is third. Furlong remaining. Martin Schwann now asked the leader here, Julestown, to kick away, and he does so, and Julestown's 2.5 ahead. Desert Wolf chasing. Boogie Bodie back in third, and that's how they'll finish. It's Julestown in front by 2 in the finish. Desert Wolf was second, Boogie Bodie third, and My Brother Keith was fourth.
Good call by Paula Duca. This horse did show some of that speed he used to have. Was out in front, goes gate to wire for the win at 5-1.
I believe Jonathan liked this horse as well.
He did.
So nice call by the guys. And Paulie, you are white hot with 2 winners at nice price to start. And boy, I thought the horse would be forward maybe 4th or 5th early with horses like the 12 who left hard. Taking the lead away from the 4 certainly compromised his chances. I would never have been able to predict that this horse would be on the lead, but give Schwann some credit, and I like to see that kind of aggressive riding, and got it done going synth to dirt.
Gennaro Garcia, winning trainer for Southwest Racing Stables. As we're back to New York, Harlan's Bond kicking off the late pick 4. Jose Gomez, 2 today, teams up with David Donk.
And got the right outside trip in this race on this racetrack and got it done, holding off True Empress to get it done. A nice win for Dave Donk. Jose Gomez riding very well. And, you know, you really have to think that Katie Davis was riding to instructions on Little Lindsay, because this is just not the way she rides. She is not an over-aggressive rider who's sending horses that don't predict to be in the front end. And, you know, if it was instructions, they were not instructions that were really looking at the racetrack and looking at the 6's speed in the race.
Filly, who'd never been on the lead.
Really, listen, I'm not saying she would have won, but whatever chance Little Lindsay had was compromised by that. And, you know, rides like that make jockeys look bad. And I have a hard time believing that that was the way Katie looked at that race and said, I'm going to ride Little Lindsay. I could be wrong about that, but it just seems odd.
Early pick 5, over $6,500 coming back, and 2 legs into this big late pick 5 carryover. $117,000 carryover coming in. 2 favorites defeated.
Hope you're alive in this thing, because it's a complicated sequence, and even that horse coming in was sort of a co-second choice.
Well, race 6, quick look at the odds here. 6 furlongs, $25,000 claiming race, board wide open. 4 of them on this board between 3-1 or 4-1 in an 8-horse group. We'll have more on it when we come back. I'm going to take a timeout. Shimmering Allure, 4-5 odds on for the Busanda coming up on Saturday for the Kenny McPeak Barn. Already a stakes winner, dropping out of a graded stake last time out. Back with you on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. Julestown, both Paulie, JK picked this one out at 5-1. Nice call. Gennaro Garcia, second off the claim victory. Martin Schwann aboard for the win. Put this horse in front. Hadn't shown this speed for some time. And able to go gate to wire.
Love that kind of riding. Love that kind of aggressive riding. Sort of seized the bull by the horns, and it worked out here. You could say it didn't work out with Little Lindsay, but a very different situation on a racetrack that's playing much differently.
In the last 2 starts, this horse has been dead last early.
Yes.
Very
now, this horse
different.
had the speed to be closer. I mean, I look at the pace projector from Time from US. They had the horse 5th early, so they didn't have the horse out of position, but you could hard to predict this horse would be in front.
Get to the 5th momentarily. It's back to New York, race 6. $25,000 claiming event, 6 furlong sprint coming up. And a look at one of a couple in here with big back class. Here's Big Engine. Now with the David Jacobson barn, who's at 7-2 right now.
Yeah, coming back in short rest, and looked up David Jacobson, 1 to 10 days. He's got mediocre numbers overall, but this barn has been red hot. And they're always a tough barn to read. Their form will sort of flip-flop around quite a bit and not run necessarily to their most recent form. And he can win. He's got an outside post. He's a closing-type horse, so he has the right kind of running style for this track. But he has that win last time. The short rest worries me, but the way this barn is going, you leave their horses out at this point at your own peril. They had a horse yesterday, run like a 6-point lifetime top buyer fig, sort of out of nowhere, who's run quite a few times in her career. It was bet like they knew and ran like it. So I'm scared of their horses, but David's numbers on short rest, and those numbers, keep in mind, are just a little over a year. He hasn't been back that long. So that's a lot of starters for a relatively short period of time. And when they come back on short rest, it's usually not a great sign.
Almost a win back on December 9th at Aqueduct. We just showed you, came out of that race to run second against Bust and Shout at 7 furlongs. As we take a look at Air Show, Rudy Rodriguez barn, put together back-to-back wins on this track September, November.
Yeah, well, he was unlucky behind Big Engine because he was moving with Big Engine. It's tough to rally with a horse on your outside flank. They sort of intimidate you a little bit, and Big Engine kept him in. It was very good race riding that day. By Jose Lezcano, and he sort of got blind switched. And as Big Engine was going by, he had to wait behind horses to rally again, and it compromised him quite a bit. And I thought he was dangerous in here. He's a horse that sometimes runs inside of horses, and I'm not thrilled with his post position. Big Engine drew much better. I wish he had drawn the outside. If he drew the outside, I'd love him in here.
He's the mild favorite right now at 7-2 with more. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, and when we talk about horses, again, we're trying to match up what we see on paper and what we see physically. In the 3, Big Engine, Air Show, got Big Engine on my mind. Air Show looks terrific for Rudy Rodriguez, as most of Rudy Rodriguez's runners do. I think he was unlucky last time. I think particularly with the way the racetrack is playing, he probably be best, even if he dropped back a little further, to get in the clear and rally. But again, physically, really looks good, checks all the boxes, makes a nice impression. Another horse that caught my eyes at 5, Chuck Willis. Now, this horse that has speed, but he's also fitted with a pretty large extension blinker. Now, reason horses are, fitted with extension blinkers when they have a tendency to drift out. The conventional wisdom is that they won't run to where they can't see. I was never really my experience that worked out 100%, but even if he has speed, I think he'll probably be a little bit off the rail, particularly because of that extension blinker. And usually horses like that are just more comfortable outside. So maybe having speed won't be his undoing because he'll be in a better part of the racetrack. Most of the time, speed horses drift towards the inside. And a horse that absolutely grabbed my attention, and he's a horse that can lay close as well. And I don't know if he matches up as well from a figure standpoint, at least on paper, but the 7, Ikaji, this horse looks fantastic. I mean, he could not be better turned out for Michele Giangiulio. Really caught my eye. Every time I kind of went away from him, I kept gravitating back to him. So just kind of an interesting look here on number 7.
Yeah, he seems like he's a very big player. Surprising to see him at 6-1, Mig, on this 7 horse who last time out faced the Wind Machine, Greeley and Ben, who's a 25-time winner. We're going to go back to February 11th.
last year.
Yeah, way long ago, and was able to get the lead on this occasion, go gate to wire. That kind of trip looks difficult today with the presence of the 5, Chuck Willis.
And he hasn't really had a chance to win a race in quite a while. You have to be comfortable and ask yourself, do you think he can win a race rating? He's only has 1 win in 8 dirt races. He's got a win on synthetic and 2 on turf. And that win was wire to wire. Is he going to be comfortable? Because with Chuck Willis in here, he's not likely to clear him. Now, being outside of him is probably helpful to him. And I'm with Richie. I think he's a major player. I picked the race 3, 7, 8. I took a negative approach to Chuck Willis. You like him more than I do. Did you pick him on top, I think?
I did.
And Jonathan likes him, I know, as well. And listen, I could be wrong. I don't love Chuck Willis being claimed from David Jacobson by Wayne Potts. And I know Wayne Potts had a big win last week, and I think a lot of us thought, oh, Wayne Potts is going to rev it up again like he did a few years ago. He hasn't really been doing that. And, boy, David Jacobson, a tough guy to claim from, especially when he's going as well as he did. He also, Chuck Willis, won a 4-horse race where Airport was going to be the favorite. He took no money, and he came back out of that race and ran last the other day. I just don't know how competitive that field was.
And here's Chuck Willis. He looks like the speed of the speed. Is a little strange. It's an 8-year-old, and he's been in a bunch of different barns, that no one ever tried him on dirt until 2 starts ago.
It is odd, and that was a rained off the turf. Listen, you think about, he had been in the turf, but you think about that sheriff horse for Linda, Sheriff Bianca, right, who ran first time in the dirt for Wesley Ward, lost to horse Cowan, who's a stakes quality sprinter. Wesley's ran him on the turf, and he never went back to the turf. Linda claimed him, ran him on the turf. Then he got rained off in Saratoga, and she left him in. And I think he made $200,000 or $300,000 on the dirt after that. And, the game is tough enough, and people make it harder sometimes by missing the right service. Now, I don't know. You can't really blame the connections currently. Who had this horse originally? Maybe it was Mark Casse. I don't know who had him originally that made the mistake of not running him there.
Yeah, he ran some huge efforts, obviously, on the grass. And here's a look at Cajun Casanova. Fernando Abreu second off the claim.
I don't think he's totally impossible. He's got to get a trip and get away from the rail, and you can't really expect Louis Rivera to do that.
Manny Franco on, Bronx Bomber taking money.
Yeah, he's drifting up and should be higher. I don't know how he possibly wins. He can't win without the lead. He's got an inside post, and he doesn't have good form.
Was favored moments ago. Air show for Rudy Rodriguez.
Works out the right trip from Rudin. I think he's a major player.
Brajol. Been off since June at Belmont.
And the truth is his good races are at least fringe competitive with these if you think he's going to run it.
Here is the speedy Chuck Willis coming off a big dirt win against Easier.
He's going to go to the front. Will Lane Lussey stay away from the rail?
Bourbon's Hope, 19-1. This is who Chuck Willis beat last start.
Well, a lot of people that played this pick 5 needed some Bourbon after Bourbon calling disappointed. Will this Bourbon run better? I doubt it.
The other speed, Iki guys face some tough ones on dirt, including Rodney.
Yeah, he's the favorite right now, and I could see him winning, but can he win stalking?
And Big Engine, back class here. It's the David Jacobs barn, 8-day return.
A closer and a race with some pace and an outside post, but he's dead on the board right now at 4-1, isn't he?
Yeah. Isaac Castillo will be aboard. 2 wins in a second. His last 3 starts for Big Engine. Play it all by getting signed up with Naira Bets. That's the offer for new members, that $200 deposit match sign-up bonus. That's the code to punch in. Match 200 to take advantage at NairaBets.com. 4 minutes away. 6th coming up on this Friday card here in South Ozone Park, New York. Let's go to Jonathan.
Yeah, guys, like I said before, I singled Chuck Willis in that pick 5 that's no longer with us, and I'm a huge fan of this horse in this spot. It's, when you look at, I know Andy looks at Timeform US, and I love it as a tool, but one of the things with Timeform US is it'll kind of let you know if a race is kind of a paceless race. It'll suggest that horses that are on or near the lead are in an advantageous spot. It will also tell you if there's a race that's got a lot of speed in it and how closers could be elevated. This is one of those races where it did suggest that a horse on or near the lead would take advantage of that. And this is Chuck Willis for me. His pace figures, early pace figures, are significantly faster than anyone else in here, what they have been running. Now, the 7 has some back numbers that are a little bit sneaky, but that hopefully he gets the same instructions that Katie Davis got last time. If this horse is sent away from there and ridden aggressively like they are the best horse, and on paper it feels like they are, I think Chuck Willis is going to be extremely, extremely hard to run down. I guess the only question is if the inside is bad, will the rider decide to stay off of the inside or go down there and kind of ask for trouble? I would imagine that the word is probably circulating around the jocks room that being on the inside is not where you want to be, and I would imagine that they'll try to stay off the inside. But I just think it's too big of a pace advantage for me to ignore.
I do think Chuck Willis will make the lead. And not only in the jockeys room does that start getting around about how a track is playing, but even, keeping your ears open in the paddock, listening to trainers and connections talk. I'm certain Wayne Potts, had the conversation with Lane Luzzy. And listen, Lane Luzzy's been riding extremely well. His dad, Mike Luzzy, has his book now. And, that's something that you pay attention to in the jocks room. You're not supposed to be playing ping pong and shoot and pull. You're supposed to be watching races and paying attention to things like how the racetrack is playing. So I do think Chuck Willis will be in front, but look for him to be a bit removed from the rail in what I perceive as the better part of the racetrack. I went with the 7 Ikigai. I'm presuming we're saying that correctly now. Greg, I'm following your lead. I think he's going to sit a good trip from the outside. I think he's going to be close, probably the closest pursuer to Chuck Willis, as long as he doesn't get in too much of a chase mode, and he should be parked out in a decent part of the racetrack. Listen, Air Show, I like this horse. I'm just a fan of the horse. Some horses kind of, you gravitate to, get under your skin a bit. I like him a lot, but he's going to have to extricate himself from that inside position and find a trip. And I might have picked him if he was drawn more towards the outside. And then the 4-horse Brajol coming off of a layoff. I got to tell you, he looks really good and really fit for Oscar Barrera Jr., who's done, had a good year last year. He's done good work. The horse making a nice impression. And Brajol, well, I love Brajols. My wife's Brajols. I have a throwdown with anybody with her meatballs and her Brajols.
Mig told me off camera, though, he had some good meatballs when he went to Hot Springs.
I want to say a couple of things. One, the money is coming in for the 8 big engine. And the David Jacob horses that are live, they almost always take late money. Number 2, I'm not going to be shocked if Chuck Willis wins this race. You like him, Jonathan likes him. I respect both your opinions. But to completely ignore that this horse was claimed away from David Jacobson, in my opinion, is a mistake. And I'll tell you something else. For a horse that's so clearly the speed, you a little surprised he's 4-1 in this race?
A little bit. I mean, look, he's moving up in class. And
significantly.
There is another speed in here, even though he's the speed of the speed.
He's the speed of the speed.
He's 7-2 now.
But, Jorge Vargas is not a rider who's known. One of the things I like about Jorge is you can usually count on him to be aggressive. And if he's aggressive, the other thing it does is potentially it could pin Lane Luzzy inside. And I know Richie's confident that everybody's so aware of it. I'm not. I've watched racing for a long time, and there's a lot of people that don't think about bias, don't believe in it, and don't get attuned to it. And in Lane Luzzy's defense, he doesn't have a lot of experience riding here.
Oh, he's got an agent now who does. Dad,
he does.
Mike.
But doesn't, agents, let's be careful about telling their jockeys how to ride. Maybe his dad.
Chris Griffin, the call.
And they're off. Air Show was off slowly. Chuck Willis right out to the front, and Cajun Casanova right with the early tempo. They're 1-2. Just off of them, Bronx Bomber is taken back. Gets past the outside here from Bourbon's Hope, and Ikigai's moving forward as well as Chuck Willis. Lane Luzzy, they're on the engine. They move. They are 4 lengths in front. Cajun Casanova is in second. Gets passed by Ikigai up alongside. Here comes Big Engine, who's now taken 4th. At the rail is Bronx Bomber, still patiently ridden. Drifting out there was Bourbon's Hope, who's towards the back end of the field. The 2 far back, that's Air Show and Brajol. 22-1 for the opening quarter mile. Chuck Willis is rolling on the front end. It's Chuck Willis who's now only up by 4 as Big Engine starts to move in closer. Under a drive is Ikigai is back there a clear 3rd. The rest with a lot to do, very strung out as Chuck Willis is still there. Chuck Willis went 45.37 for a half-mile time. Big Engine is getting closer, but running out of time. Chuck Willis is still going. It's Chuck Willis for a final 1/8 of a mile, still fending off Big Engine far back to the rest. Can Chuck Willis finish the job? A 16th to go. Chuck Willis, Big Engine. Chuck Willis, Big Engine. Chuck Willis with a big effort. Chuck Willis wins it over Big Engine. Tight there for 3rd. Bronx Bomber and an oncoming Cajun Casanova in 1 minute 10 flat.
Chuck Willis opened up on this field, showing that imposing speed, and now back-to-back wins.
I have no idea where this race came from, and this was a crazy fast race and a good call by you, Jonathan, as well. This horse ran off, and I'll tell you something. This race a little faster than the races we've seen. Now, he did not go to the rail. He stayed out in the 3-path, but seemed like a different kind of race we've seen. But they also beat the rest of the field by a city block.
Again, and he was very good. We talked about it on grass. But this is a 23rd start of his career, and it's just been the last 3 starts he has ever stepped foot on this surface. And now he's got 2 wins from those 3 tries.
Without being in my office where I can check other charts, I mean, this race was almost run like it was run on a different racetrack because of the times of the race. Now, they did finish way, way ahead of the field, so maybe these 2 horses just ran sort of semi-stakes quality performances as $25,000 claimers, and the way the Jacobson runners are running, I wouldn't be surprised if Big Engine did just that.
You think he got taken?
No, I don't
know.
Claim this horse for a quarter, but I could be wrong. Maybe Jacobson took him back.
5-8-2-1, Chuck Willis, the back class of Big Engine, got him close, but not close enough. Another upset in this Pick 5 carryover. Prices for you when we come back. We'll get back to Hot Springs as well. Pick things back up with race 5. Kicks off their late Pick 5 with an Arkansas bred maiden special weight 6 furlong sprint. That's next on our FS2 coverage.
This is Maxfield. This is a Maxfield foal. Maxfield, the G1 Breeders' Futurity and G1 Clark Hero by Street Sense. Maxfield foal. They're just like him. Walking, standing, looking perfect, and selling. This one made $500,000, the most by any freshman in 2023. Maxfield. He's the best in his field. Inquire now.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new kid.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you on our Friday coverage. America's Day at the Races on FS2 continues. We have the 5th from Oaklawn Park out in Hot Springs, Arkansas coming up. As this field looks for their first win on their resumes. Arkansas bred runners sprinting 6 furlongs. And it's a first-time starter favored right now from the rail. Let's go to Paul LaDuca for more.
Yeah, Greg, and I actually got caught up with trainer Matt Scherer, and he told me, listen, he likes his horse 20 to Park. Now, we had another Arkansas bred race earlier in the meet where it was a Randy Morse horse that Martin Garcia rode that had works at Churchill Downs. When you see an Arkansas bred that had works at Churchill Downs like the one did, and they were quickish, they're usually pretty live in here. And you look at 20 to Park, this horse has got a bullet drill. I know it's only 4 rivals, but 48 at Churchill Downs, 2 out of 18. And then he's come here and done some of his good work. And he's a grandson of Speightstown, and they usually like, obviously, an off track. And I have a feeling this one's going to blast out of the gate and be very tough in here. The 9 in here for Brad Cox, is this horse taking Brad Cox money, or is this, you know, a kind of horse that you want to pass on? Now, it's pretty amazing what $115,000 races will do to you in the Arkansas Bred program, because when you look at this race, you got Mike Maker, you got Steve Asman, you got Cher, Ronnie Moquette, Randy Morse, Lindsey Schultz had a horse entered in here. I mean, you have some elite trainers going into the Arkansas Bred program here for the purse money. And the 9 in here is a first-time starter by Painter. I just don't know. I mean, it just seems like these Arkansas Bred races, they've been won by prices. And, you know, besides the 1 in here, I thought the 12 was interesting. Successful appeal on the bottom side. I do love that for an off track. The horse is taking some money in here for Emmanuel Esquivel. So I'll go with the 12 here instead of the 1, Wolfie, because you know what? It's going to be $30 to park at Dodger Stadium, not $20, and it's going to be cheaper to get into an Angels game this year than $30.
You know, obviously the money the one's taking, he's probably live, and he has the pedigree to be a runner. I think the 12 Jimmy is a very interesting first-time starter, and he's taking some money at 6-1 right now. I'm also surprised to see the 2 as high as 5-1, given he ran at Saratoga.
Paulie selection, that 12. The Dam was a 3-time winner, produced, among others, Mahomie, who won the second start of his career and did so on a muddy, sealed track. We got a muddy track here today. Outside post for that first-time starter at 6-1 right now.
Yeah, that's where my money would go in here.
$30 to park. Speaking of parking, 20 to park the 1. That's how State and Fleury made his money. Matt Dinnerman, the call. Here's race 5 to kick off the late pick 5 from Hot Springs.
Rocket Sanders will be second to last to load in, and then Jimmy to the outside. Here's Jimmy. We're ready to go. And we're off. Off very slowly was Bo Nugget, who had to take up at the start. Strato was slow away with him as well. Yaqui Valley showing the most speed today, leads by a touch more than a length. Rocket Sanders taking second with the gray. Palmetto Devil, 20 to park down on the inside. He's running alone in the 4th spot, 3 lengths behind. Strato after the slow break. He's made up ground to run in midfield with Patton's Tizzy and a deep, gentle Ben approaching the turn. Another length to Jimmy, then comes Getaway with it into that turn. Barra in the 3rd last spot, passing a weakening Getaway with it. Unnecessary tricks, and Bo Nugget well out of it. Around the far turn, Yaqui Valley the leader a half length. Rocket Sanders is second, 20 to park. Sent along down at the rail, and there's room for him to come through. Here's 20 to park, making a dive to the lead, and 20 to park's the one to reel in. 20 to park opens up 2, turning for home. Now make it 3 as he comes down the lane. In the 2nd spot is Rocket Sanders trying to hold that position, but 20 to park coming to the 16th pole, all alone on the lead for Fleury Racing Stable and Matt Shearer, and it's going to be 20 to park, a first-time starter by Speightster, and a stylish debut. Rocket Sanders was second home, 3rd, Patton's Tizzy, photo for 4th, Barra, and Yaqui Valley.
20 to park, dominating in the debut here in the 5th at Oaklawn to kick off the late Big 5. Welcome to those just joining us on Valley Sports SoCal and San Diego, and those already with us on FS2.
And you came in just in time to see that Archie Bred steam down at Oaklawn, the 2-1 firster for Matt Shearer. Didn't even break that well, actually, and came up the rail and won by a city block in here. And I got to say, you know, I'm a fan of Brad Cox's, but I'm kind of glad that Brad Fox's first time starter didn't win here. Brad, do you really need Arkansas bred first-time starters? Haven't you got enough an edge on everybody?
Plenty of ammo. Let's leave the Arkansas breds alone, yeah. What an impressive performance. First time out, 20 to park here. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling with you, Paula Duca out in Hot Springs. We have Jonathan Kinchin, Richard Migliori with us as well for those who've just joined us. This performance, pretty special as well here at Aqueduct. Chuck Willis now back-to-back gate-to-wire wins on dirt.
One of 2 things happened. Either the track changed because this was a crazy fast race on this racetrack, But being that the first two finishers finished a city block in front of the other horses, maybe the track didn't change and these two just ran stakes quality performances, because this is likely to be a buyer figure in the 90s. Not sure where it came from. It's certainly not in the PPs, though Big Engine has back figures in the 90s. But Chuck Willis, man, I mean, he's like the new Sheriff Bianco, right?
Yeah.
From a $16,000 claimer in a 4-horse field, it's a horse that Jonathan had leaned on in the pick 5. You liked quite a bit. You guys were dead right.
Found new life as an 8-year-old after spending his entire career primarily on turf and a little bit on synthetic, but last 3 starts has moved to dirt. Now he has 2 wins to show for it. Carryover in this late pick 5. Started off with a 13-1 shot. Alternate reality. We have had no favorites win in the sequence so far, and we still got 2 legs to go.
And we've got a parlay for $2 that's about $900. So you're talking about over $200 for 50 cents in a tough sequence that clearly paying more, and you've got the carryover. So if you're alive in this pick 5, I know I'm rooting for you, because this is a tough one to be alive in, and you're going to get paid.
7th at Aqueduct, a feature on this Friday card. 6.5 furlong sprint. Allowance optional claiming field. And as the board shows, anybody could win this race coming up. Nova Rags, third off the bench for Bill Mott, potentially your favorite at post time. And it kicks off the cross-country pick 5 as well. That includes 3 races at Oaklawn, races 7 and 8 here at Aqueduct. Be back to kick off that cross-country pick 5 right after this. You're watching America's Day at the Races on FS2, regional networks out in Southern California, and it's brought to you where you can play all the action you're seeing and beyond. Go to NowRaBets.com, get signed up, started, bet any track, anywhere, anytime. 12 minutes away from the first leg of this cross-country Pick 5 coming up. Starts with the 7th at Aqueduct, includes the nightcap here in New York, and then races 7, 8, and 9. The final 3 in the card out in Hot Springs.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And, you know, I think there are some questions about the track. That last race was so fast at just over 110 flat that you might think the track changed, but with the big gap, it may not have. I'm very curious to see how quickly they run this race, because judging by the quality of this field and that race, if the track to be sort of even, they would probably run around 116 and 4-ish in this race to 117. To run a similar figure to what ran the last race, I'm curious. Now, the winner did not go to the rail. He drifted towards the inside late, but very good ride by Lane Luzzy, staying out in the middle of the track. We'll see. And a lot of horses claimed the 1, 7, and 8, but nobody claimed Chuck Willis.
Wow.
Greg, they rejected your claim. You didn't have enough money in your account.
I would have loved to have him. Nova Rags, the 3, right now the favorite, but he's got some competition, including to his inside in the 7th race coming up. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, Greg, you should have let me know, and I would have jumped in and helped you there. Boy, he was impressive, and Lane Luzzy had maybe the line of the day as he was getting up the scale. He said to me, my new agent's like a father to me. That's pretty good, I thought. Mike Luzzy, obviously his father. We're going to start down on the inside with the 2-horse, Factor It In. Boy, this is a big, good-looking gray son of the Factor. He's a whole horse at 8 years old. He's almost pure white. As gray horses get older, obviously they get whiter and lighter, and he's almost just pure white at this point. He's a 13-time winner. He's kept very good company. I think you got to really respect this horse. I like what I'm seeing from him, but he's going to have to figure a way out off of that rail position, because I'm still convinced, even though the winner did float or drift down towards the rail late, that you want to be outside today. The Nova Rags, it continues to look great. Just, Hall of Famer Bill Mott, Leanna Winford, his assistant trainer, does terrific work for him up here. And he's got the right style, I believe, for the racetrack today. Should work his way out to the outside. The 4 Fluid situation looks fantastic from a physical perspective. I mean, he's dappled out. John Terranova's got him in really good shape. But looking at him, I just see more of a turf horse. I mean, he's got that wider, flatter foot. He has one on dirt. I think they're probably trying to find out if they, should maybe press on this winter. But, he really looks fantastic from a physical perspective, just more like a turf horse. And the 6-horse Swift Shore, well posted, turns back in distance, has had speed going further. He should have more stamina with that, turn back in the bottom from those longer races, and he could not look any better in the coat. Really resplendent, rich, hydrated coat. Horatio DePaz, another trainer, does really good work. And the son of Uncle Mo out of Island Saint, just making a really nice impression here in the paddock.
Get to the post parade here coming up shortly as we look at Nova Rags, still the favorite. 10 of his 17 career starts, he's been first or second with 4 wins.
No, he's an ultra-consistent type racehorse. Now, his last race is not one of his faster races from a speed figure standpoint. He's run better figs, but he has the kind of running style that suits him. You're getting good trips. He's got the speed to be in position, but he's not a speed type horse. He's a dangerous horse in here. I don't think there's a horse in this race that doesn't have the credentials to be
This
effective.
win, though, did this get handed to him on a platter?
Yes, he got an absolutely perfect trip, and I think you made good points earlier today. The Baby Yoda he beat is not the Baby Yoda of old that we know, that beat Olympiad like a drum once in Saratoga. Having said that, Beachwalker ran third, came back and ran a 90-plus Beyer in his next start. I don't love him here. I picked him second, but he works out good trips. I think Factor In's a factor in here, and I think that Trevor McCarthy will at least try to get him off the rail. And while he has speed, he'll be outrun in all likelihood by Fluid Situation. So, and my thing with I'm married to betting a few dollars on Fluid Situation. Richie may well be right. He turns out to be a better turf horse, but he broke his maiden with a 95 Beyer on the dirt. And if you look at his subsequent dirt races, he really didn't have any chance in any of those races. He's a horse that piled up bad trips for John Terranova, and he's been effective sprinting on the dirt, but I don't think he ran that badly in his last dirt start. I'm talking about the 4 Fluid Situation, and I think he is an interesting alternative here. He could be the speed of the speed, just as long as Louis Rivera stays away from the inside. But once again, I don't think it's impossible that this track has changed a bit. I think the final time will tell us a lot near.
We'll keep our eyes on it. That was...
some performance in race
number
number
6
was.
A horse coming out of a 10 claimer.
16 claimer, but it was a 25 claimer. I think 16.
Yeah, you're right.
I try to only correct you when I'm right, Craig. I don't want to risk
24
correcting
Mamba.
you when I'm wrong.
It's 7-2. There's Kendrick Carmouche. What's that?
That was Kobe's number, right? 24.
Yes. Originally was 8.
Yes, it was. Who originally drafted Kobe, and who was traded for him?
The Hornets, right?
Correct. Who'd they trade for him? Vlade.
Vlade, yeah. Who became GM with Sacramento.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They're an up-and-coming team, huh?
They are. 24 Mamba. Take a look. And at least in this race, had that Mamba killer mentality to hold off very good closer that came up too little too late, Awesome Native.
He ran huge last time, and I will not be surprised at all if he reads that performance and wins. He's drawn outside the speeds. He should get the right trip. My problem is I didn't bet him at 10-1 last time, and now he's a fraction of that price against tougher horses. So he's just not the kind of horse that I would go and bet on. But I think in the abstract, to deny that his last race is good enough to contend here, I think would be to deny how well he ran last time.
Dylan Davis will be aboard.
Look at Horacio De Paz. He's toughing it out, like he's not really that warm an outfit. I don't think he's that tough.
Talking things over with Kendrick Carmouche, who this horse loves to go to the front, but he's been going longer getting to the front. He's shown sprint speed in the past, but is that going to dull that speed a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a question. He's also got a faster horse probably inside of him in fluid situation. And I think it's fair to say you have to wonder if his form's tailed off a little bit. He ran so badly last time out, and now there's factored in who.
Those knees look fine, don't they? Trevor McCarthy with the win and had
guy gets thrown in the morning, wins a race, gets thrown. He's a warrior. Not an easy job. Got to be even tougher when it's cold out too.
Yeah, just riding in these it was when I came to work this morning with I believe 37 degrees. Riding in these kind of conditions.
It's not easy, And Richie spent so many winters here. And Richie, I mean, you were more in California, and I know you're sort of aware of it, but I've never seen a rider that was as unlucky as the MIG and as tough as the MIG. But I knew when somebody said there was a spill at Aqueduct, I always thought to myself, I know the MIG's involved.
Still, pretty darn good career. He compiled winningest rider in the history of this track.
Great career.
Here is Spun and Won. David Jacobson trains Manny Franco.
He can be forward. He's probably not good enough, but it's Jacobson, so who knows?
I'll post 4 to the entry mate.
And he actually finished ahead of 24 Mamba 3 races back. And listen, I don't think they're good enough on paper, but I'm not sure paper matters with Jacobson.
Coming into New York, again, factor it in, coming in from Laurel.
Yeah, I mean, listen, his last race was good enough, and 2 back suggests he still has enough form left. I don't know if he can find his form from last year, but he'll win if he does.
Hall of Famer Bill Mott with Nova Rags, third off the bench.
He's just one of those horses that always shows up and runs. Will it be good enough today?
Trying dirt again, the speedy, fluid situation.
Let him fly, stay off the rail, and I'm hoping for the best. I bet a few bucks.
24 Mamba, 4-1, coming off that big win over Awesome Native.
Kind of missed the boat last time, but he ran big last time.
As you mentioned, he was 10-1 in that spot. Don't get that today. He's 4-1 here. And then Swiftsure cutting back in distance for the speedster.
I mean, there are questions. He's a speedy type. He's not likely to get the lead in here, but he drew well on the outside, and then you have to wonder about his form. But he's 6-1. So, you let price be your guide. I think he's a very fair price if you like him.
Seems to need to have the lead to win. We'll see if he can do it without it. Let's go to Jonathan for more.
Yeah, look, I like the 6 Swiftsure here. We talked about it a few times leading up to this through this sequence. And Swiftsure is one of those horses to me that has been kind of crying for the cutback, right? A horse that wants to go a little bit shorter. And I've said this before, and I've actually talked to Richie about it, trying to get him to agree with me. He's never fully agreed with me, but he's at least made me feel like I'm not dumb for this thought. I've always felt like 6.5 plays a little bit more to closers. I did some work at Santa Anita one time looking at their races, and it was true. I proved it there that 6.5 was a little bit more friendly to closers, horses coming from off the pace. I never looked anywhere else, but I've just kind of carried along that idea in the back of my head is that I believe it does help closers. And I think it's because we run so many races in this country going 6 furlongs. I feel like sometimes the riders, it's not that significant of a difference, just might get a little, not lost out there as if they're not professionals, but I just don't think that there's that big of a difference in their head when it comes to 6 and 6.5. I think sometimes it can set up well for a closer when that closing kick matters while everyone's getting a little bit tired. That's really not the only reason I like this horse. That's just a reason I like this horse. I think the cutback's going to help quite a bit. I think the water's got a little bit deep with that stake try last time. He comes in fresh. I think Horacio De Paz does an outstanding job, and I love the outside draw considering the way this racetrack has been playing. Richie, come on, just tell me I'm right a little bit.
Well, I will concede this, Jonathan, that I never really thought or approached a 6.5 furlong race any different than I did a 6 furlong race. Just rode it as a sprint. But I think you make a really compelling argument about it. So I I can see your point, no doubt about it. I like that the 6 Swift Shore is turning back in distance. I like his draw. I think he sets a perfect kind of trip just from off the pace, not far off the pace because he's got natural speed. And I'm standing about 5 feet from Horatio DePaz, a guy that I actually got to work horses with when he was working for Todd Pletcher. So we have a long history. He does a great job. His horses look terrific. And I like Swift Shore on the turn back. It looks great, looked good in the warm-up. The 2-horse factor it in. I respect horses like this. This is an old warrior, 13-time winner, shows up every time. He's just going to have to figure out, or Trevor McCarthy's going to have to figure out how to kind of extricate himself from what I think is a tricky rail position today. And a horse that completely flew under the radar for me that really elevated on the racetrack is number 5, 24 Mamba. Boy, he got a nice, energetic, exuberant warm-up under Dylan Davis and really caught my eye, which he did in the paddock. But horses change from what you see in the paddock and then when they get on the racetrack and kind of get a little bit more animated, if you will.
Big thanks. 10-1 last time. 24 Mamba winning at 7 furlongs, now 4-1, trying to win at 6.5 against a tougher field.
9-5 on the 3 is bad value. 8-5 now. I mean, this is too competitive a race to take anybody at that price. And there's too many horses that have run faster recent races, too. He may win, but I just think you're supposed to be playing against him.
Factor it in, who was down. That's the 2-horse who has the rail, was at 5-2. He's up to 4-1 now. So because of all this money on Nova Rags, some more enticing prices elsewhere. Feature race on this Friday card, and we begin the cross-country pick 5. Races 7, 8 here in New York, and races 7, 8, and 9 at Oaklawn. Good luck. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin to get us started.
Swift Shore. Is it? All set. And they're off. Good speed towards the outside. It's 24 Mamba and Swift Shore. They go at it, and joining them, here comes Fluid Situation 3 across the racetrack. Settling just off of them, Spun. N1 is now losing some ground, gets passed by Nova Rags, is moving to the inside, takes 4th. That'll put Spun in 1 5th. Second to last is factored in, and the trailer, Divine Armor, is about 8 lengths to the trailer, and Shub Delon not making up the ground as it's Fluid Situation to the inside who's in front. Fluid Situation and Swift Shore is just loping along here, moving towards the outside, and here comes Swift Shore, ready to challenge this leader, Fluid Situation, as they're well into the far turn and went 22-1 for that opening quarter mile. Here comes Spun in 1, and Spun in 1 is going to run right by 24 Mamba. It's just moving up here alongside, is going to be 3 wide, also running on from the back, factor it in. Nova Rags is losing some ground far back. It's still Divine Armor. They get set to reach the top of the stretch. 24 Mamba's looking for a way through. Spun in 1 has now taken the lead. Swift Shore comes right back to the inside, battling on his Fluid Situation. 24 Mamba is now ranging up on the grandstand side. Here comes 24 Mamba with the momentum. Spun in 1 in between horses, battling on still Swift Shore from the back, Divine Armor, but it's going to be 24 Mamba. 24 Mamba wins it nicely. 24 Mamba over Swift Shore, who came back and got second. Further back there was Divine Armor. Spun in 1 and Nova Rags. In 1 minute 16 and 3.
Memory lives on. One of the all-time greats, 24 Mamba with the win, back-to-back victories, and he does it here facing a tougher field than last time out.
He did. You know, he sort of let the number 1 go, and these Jacobson horses continue to sort of run well in there, though that horse didn't finish up. Actually, Swift Shore ran well to be second in here, considering. I'm wondering if this track's a little bit different. We saw the outside movement, but we did see another fast time, and this is a time that's very comparable to the 6 furlongs of the last race. So maybe these are just good horses, and I think this figure is probably going to be in the low 90s. I think you're going to see the same thing for race number 6. This horse figured to run that kind of figure. I don't think the horses in the 6 did, but 24 Mamba is in great form.
Back-to-back wins, a narrow second before that, and the 6th win of this 5-year-old's career. And still, in this pick 5 carryover, we have not had a favorite win in the sequence.
Right. I mean, the parlay is close to 5,000, rounding up, maybe 4,500 to 5,000. So, you know, and that's for $2. So for 50 cents, it's, you know, 1,200. Let's just sort of round it there. And when you consider the carryover and the sort of way it's gone out, it's very reasonable to expect it'll be at least twice the parlay. So even if the favorite, I mean, what's the favorite in the last going to be? 3-1? I think you're probably looking at pick fives that will all be 5 figures or more. Is that reasonable, Greg?
Might be more.
The entry's 2-1.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if the pick five is under 8,000, the lowest one. How's that for 50 cents? It just seems like a
I'm on board with that.
Because you had to get the first winner, and, you know, you weren't singling, and, you know, where were you? You know, the people that are alive, they put real money into this sequence, and I congratulate anybody that's even alive, and I hope you hit it, because you deserve it. This is a tough sequence to navigate. Even if you liked one winner here and there, you had to get them all on the same ticket. Not easy.
Good call here, Mig. 24 mom of the win, Charlie Baker, Dylan Davis, as we head back to Oaklawn in race 6 to kick off the late pick 4 in Hot Springs coming up. $30,000 claiming race, all for sale for that price. 6 furlong sprint is what we have here. An American Band. This horse has moved from barn to barn to barn. This is the 7th start of his career, and already been in 5 different barns.
Yeah,
although it's been
4
in
times, 6 starts. Yeah.
Wow.
Can he keep it going? Feels like they're going to be moving up front here, doesn't it? 2 has speed, the 3 has speed, the 10 has speed. Oh, the 10 is scratch, so a little less speed.
Yeah, 8, 10, 11, 12
The 8
out
was a
here.
late scratch. I didn't have the 8 scratch, did you?
Yeah, it was late. Here is Diva Treva, 19-1 with Walter De La Cruz.
Yeah, I don't know how you possibly make this horse. 19-1 seems like an underlay.
Here is American Band, who's been in all those different barns, seems to run for whoever she's with.
Yeah, ran fine last time and is ultra consistent.
Music Man Sandy, some of that pace.
Yeah, another horse I think benefits from being outside of the 2. I think is dangerous. It's a big price in this horse, isn't it? Probably a little slow.
21-1, Kelsey Har and Lacey Boss, 6-year-old mare.
Yeah.
9-time winner.
Can't win off the last race, but does drop down, I guess.
Halaga, more pace.
Yeah, this is one that's never. When this horse in the dirt, this horse did not run well in the prior dirt races.
You know, the success from that one coming on, really on synthetic. She's bulletproof, 5-1.
Probably a little better in turf, but has dirt races that make him a contender.
Peter Miller going to Nick Juarez. Peter Miller brought that even money favorite that got beat to kick off our Hot Springs coverage today back in race 3. Pattern Bet, 7-2, Ron Moquette barn.
I have no idea why this horse is a short price. Harkey bred. Didn't see this horse.
Yeah, won by 4 1/4 lengths at Ellis back in June. Has been off since. And Missy Into Mischief. We'll see next. The 9. There she is.
That's an announcer's dream. It's not the Golden Sense is an Into Mischief.
Big price with Kylie Jordan. And also eligible draws into this field. It's taking money at 7-2 for the Mike Maker barn. 7-year-old mare, Love of My Heart.
I'm not only predicting this horse is going to win, I'm predicting that LaDuca will like this horse.
Let's find out. Go to Paulie for more on the 6th.
Yeah, I don't love the 13, but we'll start with the 2 in here for American Band. The horse that you guys were talking about has been in so many barns, and it seems like she fires every time. Now she's 5 years old, and she's only run 6 times, and her last effort was a good one. You know, John Orand claimed this one out of the Steve Asmussen barn, and I think it's actually kind of key that Steve claimed this one back. And, you know, he had gone up and down with her and, you know, won a couple races. And then she come back and run really well off a long layoff last time out from the 1 post. She didn't break that great, and she just, you know, had a little bit of trouble, but she's by far the most consistent mare filly in this race. So I think the bar, you know, is set with her, obviously. You know, the 5, Halaga for Norman Knight. He's had a couple horses that have come in here from Woodbine that have run well. And another horse that I thought was kind of interesting in here, the 13 on the outside. I just don't like that post position. And the Mike Maker horses, have not run up to par here. I landed on the 6 in here. She's bulletproof. You know, Andy, you mentioned there's going to be some pace in here. I don't really like that she comes from way off the pace, and sometimes she has gait issues. But I think if she can get some kind of position and break a little bit sharper, if the pace does develop, I think we might see somebody from off the pace. So I went with She's Bulletproof for Gary Barber and Eclipse Thoroughbred. And usually when they get bet, Mr. Barber is at the window.
Yeah, he likes to fire away. No
I'm
question.
not betting the 13 at 5-2. That's too low for me. 7-2, 5. By the way, these pick 5 payoffs are surprisingly low.
We'll get back to New York, but expected a little bit bigger. Last time a 13 was on dirt, and it was a 50,000 claiming race at Churchill Downs, and actually was favored in that spot.
I'll be honest. I think these races can be very tough there. I don't have a big problem with horses like the 2. I think the horse is sort of logical. One thing I don't like about the 2 is the numbers, you know, off the claim. While the horse ran second, it wasn't as fast a race as the horse had been running in prior races, at least from a buyer speed figure. And this horse was in some pretty sharp barns. And, you know, listen, that worries me a little bit. And that's one of the reasons I like the 13. I'm just not taking 5-2. 7-2, 4-1. I was good. I don't understand what the 7 is doing 4-1 in this race. Do you?
That's pattern bet. So Ron Moquette, runner who we mentioned coming off that win that was at Ellis. I haven't seen this one since June 23rd. Beat, among others, Music Man Sandy in that race, who was 13-1 here.
Yeah, I don't see that, Archie Brett.
Favored
I don't
in that
understand
spot.
why that horse is taking so much money in here. I guess I could see She's Bulletproof, the horse that Paulie likes, and I always respect Paulie's opinion quite a bit. Yeah, that horse is possible. But I thought my horse 13 had more speed than that horse. We'll see.
So it's the 2 American Band. The favorite at 2-1. 13 not far behind here. Also eligible, Love of My Heart for the Mike Maker barn. Second choice on the board. Matt Dinnerman, the call, start of the pick 4 from Hot Springs.
Working with Music Man Sandy. Music Man Sandy goes in. A couple more runners to load. Lacey Boss in the red cap. And Love of My Heart to the outside. We're ready to go. Start of the late pick 4 coming up here. And Laroff. Good start. Music Man Sandy sent out of there, grabs the lead. Diva Treva inside, trying to keep pace with that rival. And these two lock horns and they fly. They get in a speed duel here. Music Man Sandy, Diva Treva. Now Walter Dela Cruz takes a hold with her as Music Man Sandy flies down the backside. And Diva Treva, easing off, had to tap on the brakes, gets over to the 2 path, but is now only 2 behind Music Man Sandy, who skips away into the 4-turn run. She's Bulletproof, an American Band, 3rd and 4th. She's Bulletproof claiming the 3rd spot. American Band in an all-out drive. Then Pattern Bet, 5th, sent along, 5 behind as the early leader, Music Man Sandy, comes back to the group. Lacey Boss is given way. Missy into Mischief past her, gets to the outside, but has a lot of ground to make up. Halaga's the trailer as they come off the turn, and She's Bulletproof is in front. She Bulletproof, Music Man Sandy trying to fight back, but after that fast pace is second. Love of My Heart is kicking it in, and Love of My Heart and American Band, these two hook up and they're moving as a pair and they're going to decide it. American Band between horses now grabs the lead. Outside, Love of My Heart, left back in second. American Band's going to see it out under Luis Fuentes, and American Band wins it. Second home, Love of My Heart. She's Bulletproof tired to 3rd. Photo for 4th. I think Halaga might have got it over Pattern Bet.
Music Man Sandy, Diva Treva opened up on this field. They both weaken late. American Band, the favorite, picks up the 4th win of her career.
Able to rate and get the job done. I was bemoaning to you that I didn't bet the 13 at 7-2 and the horse drifted late. Looked to have the 2 beaten to this point, but came back on and beat. No excuse for the number 13. Love of My Heart, though. Got a good trip in there, just second best.
2-1 over 7-2. And the 6 running third. So American band, John Horan, Luis Fuentes. Your winning connections back in New York. 24 Mamba back-to-back victories. Dylan Davis aboard for both. Our winner circle lead-in. Brought to you by the Fasig-Tipton, Kentucky Winter Mixed Sale, taking place on February 5th and 6th in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
I won't be there. I wouldn't mind going, though.
Going to the sales is so much fun.
Yeah. I haven't been. I was thinking of going to Keeneland this year.
This 5-year-old really backed up what he did last time.
Oh, yeah. Sort of in great form. You know, sort of allowed the one to make that somewhat premature move, let him go. Thought about going between horses, wisely swung to the outside and just overpowered him in a race that was about the similar time to the race we saw before, which isn't shot. You know, these horses probably ran their numbers. I have no idea where the first 2 finishers in the 6th race camp with that kind of performance.
Could be some extra visitors too at that Winter Mixed Sale.
Think so?
Lexington, Kentucky just sent out a message to outer space to have aliens come visit them.
Really?
Yeah.
I like that.
So we'll see what happens.
Aliens can we get them in the betting pools? They may have more sophisticated betting models, though.
We got
sharp.
1 leg left. It's a true story, by the way. In this 117,000, it is. Pick 5 carryover. No favorites have won. And we have a 7-2 favorite here in the last. Currently, that's the 9, Apollo Rising.
I think I did the math wrong. I think the parlay is about 800 for 50 cents. But I'm just surprised. The one is 3,800 and the 9 is 4,200. I know you like the 9 a lot here.
Yeah, Apollo Rising certainly aided by the way the track was playing last time out, but the horse does not have to have the lead to win. Proved that 2 back at Keeneland. And now 2 for 2 at a mile and an 1/8. We'll try and make it 3 for 3 today. More on this finale on our Aqueduct Friday card when we come back here on our FS2 coverage.
Number 1 is Mo Donegal by Uncle Mo. And they're off in the Remsen. As they come on for the finish, and it's going to be tight here in the Remsen. Mo Donegal bearing down on the outside. It's Mo Donegal and early voting, and it is Mo Donegal to win the Wood Memorial. And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes.
For the last few years, thoroughbred racing has been taking vital steps to make our sport safer. These include the use of independent veterinarians who check every horse before every race, strict anti-doping and medication controls with severe punishments for violators, uniform safety standards for every track, and a single national authority empowered to create reforms and enforce new standards across the board. With each important measure, more data is gathered, accountability is demanded. And while we've made progress, we are committed to doing more, so that at every track, in every race, safety takes the lead. Visit ntra.com/safety for more.
Catholic boy rolls in the run. Happy Travers.
Catholic boy standing at Claiborne Farm.
You're watching America's Day of the Races on FS2. Our regional networks out in Southern California with us as well. Nightcap, Aqueduct coming up. 2 turns, mile and an 1/8 in this 50,000 starter allowance.
And no surprise, only 2 horses covering the pick 6, the 7 and 9, a carryover of just dollars under 70,000 if anybody else wins.
All right, this right here, part of an entry currently at 5-1, but that is favored in the pick 5 pools. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, Greg, and I really like the entry. I'm having a little bit of a hard time splitting them from a physical perspective, starting with the one Masterwork, just making a really nice impression. Tom Morley does a good job. His horses are usually well turned out. This horse ran well at the 1.125 distance, and I thought, setting a pretty solid pace for the 1.125 distance. Anything under 48, particularly here at Aqueduct for, this level of horse is quick, and this horse hung in there nicely. The other part of the J. Provenzano Flying P stable entry, the 1A Rungius, making his first start going this far, but boy, from a physical perspective, you look like he'd handled every bit of the 9 furlongs, and I like what I'm seeing. His coat is really well turned out for trainer Bruce Levine. The 3-horse Seeking Unity making her first start up the Linda Rice claim. Really like what I'm seeing from this horse. He was the first horse that really grabbed my attention when we came to the paddock, and he continued to draw me back to him. Going to be interesting to watch him warm up and see if it kind of reinforces what I see here in the paddock on the racetrack. And then the 4-horse Cloud Forest for Ray Handel. Ray tends to reach out to Dylan Davis when he's got live runners. He's got Dylan here coming off a nice win in the last race. Horse making a nice impression, just looks really good. See a trend lately, a lot of trainers using these neck straps, putting on that piece of equipment, leather strap around a horse's neck. Is 3 or 4 in this race alone that are wearing it. The thought process is that riders will hang on to that leaving the starting gate. Not so much. I tended to grab always a piece of mane, and I would never really hold on to that. I would disregard that piece of equipment, but it seems like sometimes when things get a little bit in vogue, a lot of trainers follow suit. Never seen quite so many being used as I'm starting to see right now.
Well, maybe a piece of equipment we're going to be seeing a lot more of coming up. And this is one of a few, as Mig pointed out, will be wearing that in this race. Cloud Force, major player, 5-1, who took 9 starts to break his maiden. That happened 2 starts back. As we shift gears back to Oaklawn, American Band, the favorite from barn to barn to barn. This one keeps on rolling.
Yeah, doesn't seem to matter what barn this horse is in. 7 starts, 4 wins in 2 seconds. Gotta respect a horse like this.
Outduels that also eligible, who's late. That price floated up to 7-2 on Love of My Heart.
Yeah, it really looked like that horse was home. As soon as I said to you, I wish I had known there was 7-2, I would have bet. I said, well, I'm glad I didn't. Second best, no excuse.
So Luis Fuentes on board for the win now. 3 wins the last 4 starts for this 5-year-old mare.
She's a nice little horse. You have to respect horses like that. $660. Nice exact at $28 with 2 very logical horses, huh? Very solid, fair price.
Top 2 choices on the board, right?
Yes. So
incredibly generous.
So you really like the favorite in this race, and I, who can't find a winner if it attacked me, don't see this horse at all. I don't see him overcoming the outside post and getting the lead. I thought this was a much tougher field, but the public agrees with you, Greg.
Well, part of the reason you didn't like this horse, too, was that racetrack that favored speed last time out.
Yeah,
right?
He was coming off a good rail for what I thought was a phony victory. I don't get him at all.
We'll get back to him in a minute. Let's take a look at the 3 here in this trainer's town with Linda Rice, first off the claim, Seeking Unity.
Pretty amazing when you think about it. Stretching a horse out from a sprint to a route, and this one's going from 7 furlongs to 9 furlongs. Seeking Unity. Linda is over 40% with 59 stars. Remarkable stat. She claimed this horse at Churchill Downs. She had to wait to run the horse here and coming out. And I mean, I just think he sort of fits in here. It's more of a Linda play, but I like the 4, Cloud Forest, who was 3 to 4 wide, 5 wide around the track last time against a track that was a huge inside track on Cigar Mile Day. Thought his prior race for Ray was very, very good, and I thought he was a very logical horse in here. As Dylan Davis will try to win, I believe, 2 in a row.
Back to the 9, though, and so here's Apollo Rising. 5-year-old who, yes, won gate to wire on a speed favoring track last time out at Aqueduct, but before that, this horse was 4 wide early from an outside post, was wide throughout the race, the track that day, and still dominated. Back-to-back wins now at 1 1/8 miles, and it just seems like since he's gone longer now, really relishes this distance.
That's very fair. I just think he's in a much tougher spot than he's been in his recent starts, and I can't bet a horse of a bias-aided victory here in New York against lower-level horses, conditional claiming races. I just think there's better horses in this race.
And Manny Franco will be back aboard. Meanwhile, the one you were just touching on, Cloud Forest for Ray Handel, broke his maiden 2 back And his first try against winners came in a 50,000 starter allowance. Here's the maiden win that came in start number 9.
Thought this was fast enough to win in here, and he has a major excuse against the track last time. You know, I believe that the first time, back in the 70s, the legendary Harvey Pack used to have a show between races on Saturdays and sometimes Sundays where he'd bring on guests between the races, and usually they were people with some credibility, unlike me. And I believe as a kid, the first appearance I made with Harvey, I ran second with a horse named Calligrapher, and I think he might have lost to a horse named Cloud Forest. So maybe that's why I like the horse.
You know, this horse has the
he has
figures
plenty
that
of things
majorly back up him being a player
Absolutely.
in here.
And he was against the track last time, and I can't resist
kinda
horses
neat.
like that. Yeah, I think it was a Green Tree horse.
Being informed the post parade starting. Here's Masterwork from post 3.
It's a very dangerous entry. I always give the Flying P horses a look. Thought this horse ran okay last time out, and didn't help being down the inside.
Here's the other half of the entry. Bruce Levine off the claim.
A hard one to sort of get a handle on, but this horse has run a fast race in the past.
Rail to What a Blast, going to stretch out in distance.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I think this horse will be going early, but there's plenty of speed in here.
Linda Rice, sensational numbers with this kind of move with Seeking Unity stretching out.
Yeah, I think ignoring those numbers with Linda is a mistake.
So here's Cloud Forest, Ray Handel.
Yeah, I'm hoping this one can keep the good form for Ray and last time out against the track.
Biggest price on the board he is, Centavo.
Just not competitive on his recent form.
St. James, I thought was, wow, 5-1. He's interesting, but he has got to come from so far out of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't like his last race, and I wonder if he's better in these one-turn elongated sprints where the paces are usually quicker.
Gut feeling, Michelle Nevin coming out of a 50,000 starter allowance.
I wouldn't have pegged this one. If somebody said 2 are alive in the pick 6, I wouldn't have thought this was one of the ones. I respect Michelle Nevin. Just don't know if this one's good enough.
Blue Grotto ran big last start, but he's never been effective at 1 1/8.
Yeah, you like this horse a little bit. I don't see it.
He ran just 11 days ago, that big effort as well. And then still favored, but mild favorite at 7-2. Apollo Rising trying to make it 3 for 3 at 1 1/8.
How do you not like a race where you've got a board? You've got 1, 2, 3 5-1s, a 9-2, a 7-2, a 6-1. I mean, these are the kind of races where, you know, we have very different opinions where there's an opportunity. If you're right, you figure to get paid.
There's St. James, and this is the one who's going to come from very far out of it. We'll see if he makes his presence felt late in the race. 5-1.
Yeah, I wonder if he's one that, you know, these 1 1/8 races, just the dynamics aren't usually as helpful to him. But the pace should be honest in this race.
Linda Rice, 42% with this maneuver, what she's doing with the 3. Let's go to Jonathan for more.
Look, I want to start by saying if you're alive in the pick 5, the best of luck to you. I'm sure I lost my IFB for a second, but I'm sure the guys already covered $3,800 alive to the favorite here, who's not the favorite of the board, but the 1 is the favorite in the pick 5, $300 for 50 cents bet. So good luck if you're alive. To me, it was the 1 and the 3. Those are the 2 horses that I used. Those are the 2 horses I thought made the most sense. I'd love to be alive to one of those 2 here. I'll talk specifically about the 3, Seeking Unity. This is not a negative towards Kenny McPeak. I mean, Kenny does an outstanding job. But I think some of these larger barns with lots of horses, and I would consider Kenny having a significant amount of horses compared to the average. A lot of times, trainers who claim off of them can find some success just because sometimes they can get lost a little bit in their barn, right? I mean, I think Kenny's focus is he's a type of trainer who's looking for, you know, greatest stakes types horses. And I think when you find trainers like that, you can claim off of them. Sometimes you can find horses that don't necessarily fit their program or the desires of their owners. And Linda Rice has had a record year, in 2023, claiming horses in these races with big purses in Kentucky. And that trainers were chasing purses, and she claimed a lot of horses there, brought them to New York, and had a lot of success, what led to some meet titles and also a record year. So I like Seeking Unity to take a step up with the switch to Linda. I think the horse could be tough in here at 4-1. I'm surprised in the multis. I thought this horse might be the favorite, but the 1 and the 9 both taking a little bit more money. I think there's a lot of value here. I think the win pool, this 3 horse might creep up from 4-1. Richie?
Yeah, listen, I was going back and forth between the 3, Seeking Unity, and the 4, Cloud Forest. I ultimately settled on the 4, Cloud Forest, but I liked everything I saw from Seeking Unity. And in this day and age, I think that's something we should all strive for, seeking unity. The Cloud Forest, though, will be my top selection. I liked him in the paddock. I really liked his energy level, the way it amped up in a good way, in a positive way on the racetrack. Dylan Davis coming off a nice win and a nice ride in the last race. He will be my top selection. Horse that elevated from the paddock onto the racetrack was the 6, St. James, gets Kendrick Carmouche. Horse more of a closing type on a day that I still feel like horses were, on the outside, were having the best of it, and he should be rallying late on the outside. But I'm going with number 4, Cloud Forest.
No, 9-2. Thank you, Meg, on Cloud Forest. Again, Dylan Davis, Ray Handel teaming up, looking for the second win last 3 starts. And certainly those last couple of tries, even though 6th place finish last time out, deceptively good effort on a track that was not playing to his style.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very, very interesting race, and we'll see how it plays out. It's and you link about the inside of the track. Look at the last race where the favorite Nova Rags, he stayed right in the rail until he angled out to the 2 or 3 path in the late stages. And while he obviously wasn't running well today, being down the inside affected Nova Rags. And I think you really need to stay away from the rail. Now it's supposed to rain overnight, I think, or after midnight. So we'll be looking at a wet track tomorrow where the riders always seem to stay away from the rail. We'll see if that changes things going forward. But we had that wet track here on Sunday. We came back to a dead rail 2 straight days. It's not an easy job, and we don't get a lot of biases here, but the winter can be tricky.
Meanwhile, for the horse who is still favored right now, keep your eyes on what Manny Franco does in the irons on Apollo Rising. He's got a difficult sort of decision to make in here because that turn comes up very quick. Horse obviously showed us last time out he has speed, has the ability to get to the front. Is that going to be the game plan here?
Well, he's the speed of the speed with a very, very difficult post to make the lead at 1 1/8 here. You like him, and somebody tweeted to me that he's alive in the pick 6 to the 9s. I wish him the best of luck. Said in a $63 ticket, which would have to be 2 singles, 2 3s, and a 7 would be my guess to get there. And I guess this would be one of his singles. I mean, I can't do the math any other way. There has to be a 7, and that's a prime number.
So we'll see if that one.
There could be it could be a 2 by 3 by 3 by 7, 1 by 2 by 3 by 3 by 7.
There he is, trying to win 3 in a row. Manny Franco on Apollo Rising. He is undefeated at this distance. Last 2 starts, victories at Keeneland, here at Aqueduct, and did it very different ways. Gate to wire last start, 4 wide almost, well, certainly early, and then wide most of the way, pulling away from a group that was a lot easier than what he's going to face here. Chris Griffin with the finale on this Friday card from Aqueduct.
3 out, Blue Grotto, Centavo, and Apollo Rising. Apollo Rising, Manny Franco last to load here to the outside. Apollo Rising steps forward and in. All set. And they're off. Cloud Forest has speed, so does What a Blast. His heart sent towards the inside, and from the inside draw, it's What a Blast. We'll take him into that first turn with Lane Leslie. 3 across the racetrack, though. As splitting them, here comes Seeking Unity. Wants a piece of the early action. Cloud Forest is going to be 3 wide. Apollo Rising. Manny Franco's trying to save ground. Tucks right in behind the leaders. Is 3 wide in that second grouping. Also there is going to be in the 5th spot. That's Rungus, and at the rail, Centavo. 3 by 3 there for the front 6. Gut Feeling is in the red cap. Has no choice but to go very wide here as they work to the back stretch. Tapping on the brakes is Masterwork. Nowhere to go. Luis Rivera Jr. is right in behind those leaders. Then comes Blue Grotto, who's second to last, and the trailer is St. James. They work to the backstretch, 24.49 for the opening quarter mile. What a Blast is 31-1 and has the lead, is up by a half length. In between horses comes Seeking Unity, is patiently ridden now. More settled with Cloud Forest still 3 wide. Gut Feeling is 4 wide in that second grouping. Apollo Rising's in the 3 path. Then comes Rungus is in the 2 path. They're battling for that second spot now, is moving forward. Centavo is at the rail, still patiently ridden as Masterwork, just waiting for the cue. The second to last, Blue Grotto. The trailer remains St. James 49 and 4 for the half-mile time. And here's What a Blast still in front, Seeking Unity. Cloud Forest is ranging up on the outside. Apollo Rising now gets the cue. Gut Feeling is going to be 5 wide. Here comes Masterwork, was right in behind the leaders, is in hand, and Masterwork looks to have run. Just waiting for the seam right now as they approach a quarter-mile left to go. Apollo Rising takes it right to Cloud Forest. Masterwork is looking for a way out, is going to tip towards the outside. Seeking Unity is still in there. Rungus has got some run as well. Apollo Rising, Cloud Forest, here comes Rungus, and now the stablemate Masterwork's going to follow that one. Apollo Rising is still in front. Rungus and Ruben Silvera down towards the inside, and now they put a neck in front. It's Rungus who's sprinting clear, and Rungus wins the finale. Rungus wins it over Cloud Forest and Apollo Rising, Masterwork, Seeking Unity, and St. James in 1 minute 52 and 4.
Rungus, Ruben Silvera, Bruce Levine off the claim, take the nightcap, and the entry was favored in this pick 5 with the win.
Horse claimed by Flying P at Churchill Downs for Robertino Diodoro. Obviously, Bruce Levine not stable there. Switched to Bruce Levine, and haven't seen Bruce with a lot of horses off the claim for Flying P, but this one gets it done off a very good ride by Ruben Silvera. I think Cloud Forest ran extremely well. He was the only one on the pace that survived at the end. And your 9 ran better than I expected, Greg, but he just wasn't able to finish the deal. But he rated in this race and just wasn't quite good enough.
1-8-4-9-1. 3-1. Second choice on the board to close things out on this Friday card here in New York. And a third career win for this 4-year-old by Liam's Map. Yeah, the 1A, the 4, the 9, all in the mix here late. And it goes to Rungus. And 3-1. So we have, for Saturday, carryover in the pick 6.
We do have a carryover in the pick 6. This was the favorite in the pick 5. Congrats if you had it. 3,800. The pick 6 carryover, just dollars under $70,000. Handicap for a wet track.
We're going to take a timeout. We'll be back. Rungus taking this finale on the Friday card. More coming up from Oaklawn. Final 3 legs of the cross-country pick 5 when we come back. On America's Day of the Races, final 3 legs of the cross-country pick 5. Races 7, 8, and 9 at Oaklawn coming up. 50,000 starter allowance, 6 furlong sprint. Next here in Hot Springs. And that horse, well, I thought it was going to be the 10. House of Magic, potentially speed of the speed in this race coming up. There's the 10. for Peter Miller. Let's go to Paul Lo Duca for more.
Yeah, guys, you know, this is a race I thought it was 3 horses in here, and it was the 9, the 10, and the 7 here going the distance. But there's a lot of pace in here. The 7 in here going the distance is a very sharp horse out of the gate as they're going in right now. House of Magic. I landed on the 9 Pillbox in here for Lindsay Schultz. I didn't expect 5-2 from 8-1, but Wolfie, I'll land there. I think there's going to be a ton of pace in there, especially with Nicky Juarez. He likes to push forward, and the 7 I think is going to be pushing forward too. Pillbox for me.
Yeah, 7 very quick as well. Chris Hartman off the claim.
I like the 7 to wire the field off the Hartman claim.
Matt Ditterman the call. Here's a 7th from Oaklawn.
My Dam's Attitude is loaded. Ribbons in her hair to pose 6. Into the outside, Teresa's Silver Lining. We're ready to go. That was Hartley, who popped open the front of the gate, didn't get very far, went out of there and probably went about 15 yards or so. So they're going to reload Hartley. Wide open betting board here, 5-2 for number 9 Pillbox, your current favorite. Hartley being reloaded. Take 2, we're ready, and they're off. Good beginning for all the runners. Twirling Tigress out alertly with Going the Distance. Going the Distance takes it to Twirling Tigress, who's right on the outside, pressing on her throat latch. Going the Distance, the leader from Twirling Tigress. House of Magic is in the 3rd position, usually on the lead. Today she's stalking the pace. She's 4 lengths behind, followed by Punchy Girl and Teresa's Silver Lining to the outside. A gap of 2 to a line of runners. Hartley's there with Pillbox, Her Dam's Attitude, and Shanghai Express into the forward turn run. A gap of 5 to Insightful Miss as 1 runner beaten as they round the forward turn. Going the distance, the leader by just a deck. Twirling Tigress right there. House of Magic's creeping in 3 wide, joining the fun on the front end. Make it a 4 deep. Teresa's Silver Lining. There's 4 runners battling for the win at the quarter pole. They come off the turn here. House of Magic out of that quartet has the head lead. Inside the gray, Going the Distance, trying to fight back, but she's back in the 2nd spot. Teresa's Silver Lining couldn't keep up. Pillbox down the extreme outside is coming fast, and here comes Pillbox. Pillbox and Francisco Arrieta have swarmed the early leaders and go away now. It's Pillbox drawing clear. Pillbox by 2.5. Shanghai Express in the photo for 2nd with House of Magic. Teresa's Silver Lining 4th home.
Pillbox the win. Paul Lo Duca again goes off the 5-2 favorite.
Paul Lo Duca on fire today. There's another win here. This was Lindsay Schultz, 2nd off the claim. Claimed this horse from Safi Joseph. Did not do well against Better last time at Churchill, but gets it done. Got the pace as Paulie predicted. And he is not only calling winners, but he's seeing it clearly.
Very tight for 2nd. Looked like that 4 at 57-1. Might have eked it out. As we get back to New York to close out the card on this Friday afternoon. The other half of the entry here, Rungius for Bruce Levine off the claim. Closes things out with a victory.
Yeah, this was the interesting one and was able to split horses in there with Ruben Silver and get it done. And it's a tough beat for Cloud Forest. He did all the dirty work on the front end. You think about where the others were. I mean, obviously the 2 was overmatched down the inside, but Linda's horse off the claim didn't run well. But Cloud Forest fought all the way to the wire, but Rungius was just too strong. Got the right trip, the right ride, and horses stayed away from the rail. You do not want to be on the inside, but we'll see how it happens with the expected showers this overnight.
So if you were able to put this together,
so I'm gonna
$3,817.50.
40 around there, 150, so 750 around, I don't know, 3,000, 3,800.
Andy's working on
doing the
parlay
math.
with you.
Yeah, you know what? It paid right at the parlay.
Really?
Maybe a little bit short of it. I'm not even sure it made the parlay.
We
It was very
thought
close.
alternate reality would prove a lot
Yeah.
bigger than that 1301, but not the case.
Man, this is a tough sequence, and congrats if you had it. I feel like you deserve more.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do. I mean, I'm just surprised. I mean, this was not easy.
That big of a carryover, too. You
Yeah.
usually get a little bump.
And not easy to navigate. I mean, even though the prices weren't that big after the first winter, it's not like there were a lot of singles in there, and, but hey, people had it, and we congratulate them for hitting it.
Carryover again into the pick six on the Saturday card, just shy of $70,000. So that to look forward to on our Saturday card. You have decided that you need to call in the bullpen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go home and do a little extra handicapping and sort of, I'm encouraged by Cloud Forest, but I gotta get
Mig stepping in to relieve this guy after a timeout. Good to be with you. We'll see you tomorrow.
I look forward to it.
All right, Richard Migliori joining me after a break. We got, again, the last couple on the card coming up at Oaklawn. And we'll preview some Saturday Stakes action at Tampa, on the road potentially to the Oakson Derby. Stay with us. We'll be back. More coming up on our FS2 coverage.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with an eighth of a mile to go. Express Train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
This is Maxfield. This is a Maxfield foal. Maxfield, the G1 Breeders' Futurity and G1 Clark Hero by Street Sense. Maxfield foal. They're just like him. Walking, standing, looking perfect, and selling. This one made $500,000, the most by any freshman in 2023. Maxfield. He's the best in his field. Inquire now.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Curlin's obviously one of the great sires today. He's currently the second leading sire. He's a horse that gets Grade 1 winners, he gets champions, he gets classic winners, so he's really, in a league of his own. I'm very excited about Army Mule, off to a great start at stud as well. His first crop are 3-year-olds like Good Magic, and he's getting stakes winners and a very good progeny that can really run from a book that probably wasn't of the highest quality, so we think that he's a very good sire in the making. McLean's Music, top sire of Jackie's Warrior, and other Grade 1 winners. Cantharos is having a big year this year. The Charlatans are foals this year, who we're very excited about. Violence had a champion last year, or second Forte in Belmont, so he's having a great year, so we've really had a great representation right across the board on really all of our stallions. Good Magic looks like he can be special. The newest horse is Loggins. So Loggins is a horse that I thought had tremendous ability. He got hurt, and in his second start, he was just beaten a Forte, who I think is a very good champion. And he's a great horse to look at. He's well bred. He's got the right names in his pedigree. I know there's always a critique when horses have a limited career that you're bringing unsoundness into the gene pool, or those kind of things. But if a horse takes a funny step or hurts himself, for me that doesn't demonstrate unsoundness or a genetic predisposition for unsoundness. You know, you take a funny step, you get hurt. That's bad luck more than anything. So, you know, we've had good luck with you know, horses like McLean's Music and even Candy Ride, who raced limited number of times. So, you know, we don't specifically look for horses with abbreviated careers, but I wouldn't discount those horses either because something went wrong. So it's very rewarding when they separate from their peers and they look like they're going to be very important stallions. And, you know, the hope is always that you'll stand a breed shaping stallion like Curlin.
Back with you on our FS2 coverage. Regional networks out in Southern California. America's Day at the Races brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. Joined on the set by champion jockey Richard Migliore. Good to have you up here and out of the cold weather for the last couple of races here at Oaklawn.
Yeah, it's always fun being in the paddock, and I love the interaction with everybody. But once that sun goes behind the grandstand here at Aqueduct, the temperature drops precipitously, and it started getting cold, so I'm happy to be in the warmth and the glow of the set.
How did you ride? What was the most challenging part of it, riding in this kind of weather?
Well, you know what, honestly, you kind of steeled yourself up and adrenaline carried you through. Yeah, some days it was very uncomfortable, but the thing I like to say, it was always warm in the winner's circle.
Helps ease that pain of the cold, that chill. 8th race coming up next at Oaklawn. Starter optional claiming race at 1 mile and 3/16. We'll get to it in a moment. Back in the 7th, Pillbox, another winner given out by Paul LaDuca, 5-2 favorite here. Lindsay Schultz barn and Francisco Arrieta.
Yeah, Francisco Arrieta got off to a little bit of a slow start, but has really gotten on track recently. And, you know, listen, Paul is so immersed in Oaklawn Park, the racing there on a day-to-day basis, and he's had an opportunity now to kind of see how things are panning out, and I'd follow Paul along anytime. I had a great time down there with him at Oaklawn, covering the races for the few days I got to be there. And Pillbox really drew away powerfully the last part.
57 to 1 shot does indeed get second. By the way, it was very tight, but Shanghai Express helps give you a $136 exacta if you're able to put that 9-4 combo together. Up next, this 8th at that Preakness distance of 1 mile and 3/16. Coming up, Time for Trouble. Wow, taking a ton of play right now. Coming off a win in the Slop at Fairgrounds. Frosted Departure, 6-5 morning line favorite. Looks like the one to beat for Kenny McPeak. And we'll have Julian Leperoux aboard. We'll have more on that coming up in a moment. Take a timeout. We'll look ahead to some stakes action this weekend here in New York. Busanda looks like Shimmering Allure's race to lose. 4-5 favorite, already a stakes winner. Dropping out of the grade 2 Demoiselle last time out. Back with you on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net. Today, we got final 2 on the card coming up at Oaklawn, and our ABR race of the week on Saturday. We'll be right here at Aqueduct in the Busanda 3-year-old fillies with their eyes on this year's Kentucky Oaks, going 1 mile and an eighth. And Shimmering Allure looks awfully tough for Kenny McPeek.
She really does. She's already shown that she has stamina. She wants every bit of the distance. You see her in the Demoiselle here, ranging up on the far outside. And, we've seen this in the past with Kenny McPeek runners. They just seem to continue to improve with racing, with experience, and certainly with distance. He seems to really kind of focus in on stamina-based kind of horses, and she was just second best on this particular afternoon. But small field, short but select kind of field. I wonder if maybe that hurts her a little bit, because it doesn't look like a tremendous amount of pace signed on here, but she definitely looks like the class of the affair.
She just might be too good. We'll find out. Obviously, Todd Pletcher has an intriguing kind of up-and-coming filly in Class Act who wants to be forward. Meanwhile, there's Jin Jin for trainer Brad Cox. Broker Maiden at Churchill Downs, going 7/8 of a mile. And at least, battle tested. She was second in the Rags to Riches, and then she was in the Grade 2 Goldenrod.
Yeah, I mean, then she went right into Stakes Company. Brad Cox is a, horse trainer, a horseman that has a handle on what his horses are capable of, what, the kind of company they can keep. And the fact that he stepped this filly right into Stakes Company, she is absolutely the horse to beat. You get Trevor McCarthy, who's been riding extremely well. And maybe, possibly, could she be maybe just a bit more tactical than Shimmering Allure?
She was much closer at 7/8. I think Shimmering Allure was way the horse to beat.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And but again, sometimes in a small field, lack of pace, or lack of, to a real strong kind of pace, sometimes it hurts a favorite because everybody's kind of more aware of where that favorite is as well. Sometimes in a bigger field, you go, well, a horse that comes from off the pace might encounter traffic. It also gives them the luxury of getting lost within a field, and people can't key on them as much.
Yeah, you got a horse on the outside, too, who's never been on dirt, who's quick. 5 furlong sprint speed, Princess Mayfair. There might be a hotter pace than people are expecting in this race.
Well, I thought she was maybe, to me, the most likely pace setter, and I thought she was kind of interesting. She's got a pedigree that says that dirt should be okay, and she's also, from what I understand, trained extremely well on the dirt.
Dylan Davis will be aboard. That's coming up Saturday, our ABR race of the week on the road to this year's Kentucky Oaks for 3-year-old fillies. More coming up from Oaklawn as we continue along in the cross-country Pick 5. Final 2 legs ahead. This 8th next at 1 mile and 3/16 when we come back.
The sun shines bright on Caraconte. His first crops of racing age are showing brilliance on the racetrack with a high percentage of stakes winners. His versatility is evidenced by winners on all surfaces across the globe.
Smandarella could not have been more impressive.
The sun shines bright on this value sire.
Fair down 25, fair down 25, fair down. Thank you. Right here, 525,000.
Caraconte, standing at Gainesway.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets. Good to have you with us on our Friday coverage. 2 races remain from out in Hot Springs, Arkansas, part of this cross-country Big Five. And right there, major player in this race, Frosted Departure for Kenny McPeek, probably the horse to beat in this mile and 3/16 race, and certainly a repeat of last time out. It's going to make him awfully tough. Dominated this group at Oaklawn, 99 buyer in the process.
Got so comfortable on the lead this day, coming out of sprint races, very fast-paced sprint races too, where he was involved enough chasing fast paces. Got to go 24, 48 and 2, 3/4 and 12 and 4, basically 12 and 2, 12 and a fifth to every eighth of a mile, and had more than enough to really draw away impressively through the stretch. Does he get that kind of setup today, Greg?
We'll see. I mean, this horse, he's actually shown sprint speed in the past. But if he can put together another couple performances like that, you're talking at a horse who's like, this might be a major player in the older horse division this year.
No, agreed. I just wonder if he's not going to get some pressure from the likes of the 8, Strava, who is
5 too.
Yeah, the 5 as well. Santos Dumont, Chris Landeros has been riding extremely well there, especially when he's hooked up with Chris Hartman at Oaklawn Park. He's surrounded. He has 1 speed right to his inside, 1 speed right to his outside. I wonder if he gets as comfortable as he did last time.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, Strava, the 8, who you touched on, sprint speed, he looks like he's the quickest in this field. And Ricardo Santana Jr. is not going to take anything away from what he possesses as his best asset.
Now, this is something Paul and I talked about a lot when I was down at Oaklawn Park, how the riders there don't take speed away from horses. You don't, if there's 3 speeds, it's not like guys overthink it and go, well, I'll rate a little bit. They allow their horses to use their stride.
Meanwhile, this horse, Command Performance for Joe Sharp, 2 back, winning effort at Churchill Downs at a mile and an eighth. He got a big speed figure in this performance as well. He didn't back it up. He got beat as a favorite in his first try at Oaklawn.
Well, and he was, in behind Frosted Departure last time, who was getting that easy lead and that soft pace.
Too.
Yeah, no, and he did kind of get bothered at the half-mile pole, but he never really was in any sort of position. At Churchill, he was at least, in better position, and he closed it out and he finished well. Kind of interesting, too, watching it in the paddock. He's got his tail tied up, and that was something a lot of old-school horsemen used to do. They would tie a horse's tail up so it's not to pick up as much dirt or mud in their tail. They felt like it weighed horses down. You don't see that as often now.
Weight used to seem like such a more important angle just about, 10 years ago?
Incredible. You'd get taken off horses if you couldn't make the weight.
How many spots did Bobby Frankel scratch horses out of because of weight?
Yeah, and because the idea was, too, if they won with that impost, they were going to have to carry even more the next time, so they were very careful how they spotted him. It doesn't seem like people look at weight as important a factor as they used to.
Post-parade coming up, 5-2 favorite. Frosted Departure, who, for what it's worth, is going to be the co-high weight in this race. Going to carry 124 pounds today. And that's 8 pounds more than he carried in that win last start.
So he is picking up significant weight. The thing I think about weight, Greg, is when there's a spread. I think there's a certain point where a horse is giving away so much weight. I think when we're talking about a few pounds here or there, it's really negligible. But when you're talking about spreads, that's when I think it really plays a factor.
Well, we'll see first Buck Moon for Cipriano Contreras. Been first or second in 10 of his 19 career starts, but he was absolutely no match for Frosted Departure when they met back on December 15th.
No, he was relegated to kind of a chase mode, but talk about weight. He's dropping 9 pounds, employing a 7-pound apprentice. And people that don't know, apprentices are allowed 10 pounds until they win 5 races, 7 pounds until they win 35 races, and then 5 pounds for 1 year to the date of their 5th winter before they have to ride at equal weights.
So Command Performance getting another shot at Frosted Departure after that dominant win at Churchill 2 back.
Yeah, not a very good effort last time with Trouble, but if he can get back to the race at Churchill, he's a contender.
Time for Trouble. He's 2 for 2 on and off track. Gets muddy going today. Here's the 4 Accidental Hero.
Accidental Hero also at times has flashed a bit of speed. And you get Randy Zimmerman, who is a rider that likes to send.
Graded stakes winner north of the border. Santos Dumont at 9-1.
Horse that can also have speed. Showed good speed last time at Churchill. Get Chris Landeros for Chris Hartman.
Here's the favorite, 2-1. Julian Leperoux for Kenny McPeak.
Frosted Departure, son of Frosted. Frosted did his best work when he got to kind of control things. How about his Met Mile?
Incredible. What, 120-something buyer?
Incredible.
Strava should be the speed of the speed for Norm Cassie.
I think he has a big say in how this race is going to run. I think he is naturally fast.
And Haywood's Beach, John Sadler trains with Ramon Vasquez.
Yeah, John Sadler shipping some horses to Oaklawn Park. Horse had his last work on January 8th at Santa Anita and should get a good stalking outside kind of trip.
He's a graded stakes winner out on the West Coast at 1.5 miles. Let's go to Paul for more.
Yeah, real quick note, guys. The one in here, Buck Moon, 6-year-old gelding by Malibu Moon, just had equipment adjustment. I don't know if this ever happened to you, Mig, but they put the bridle over the blinkers. And so they had to readjust and put the blinkers over the bridle. The horse was a little uncomfortable. But let's get to the favorite in here, and that is going to be the 7 here for Kenny McPeak. So it's two ways to look at this horse in Frosted Departure. Like you said, Greg, if this horse is able to back up the last effort, yeah, 99 buyer, this horse is a player in the division. And if you're a Sheets player, this horse ran a negative number last time out. And it just worries me a little bit. We call it the bounce factor or the regress factor. And the way that he was able to get the lead so easily last time, I don't know if he's going to go to the front or if he's going to rate or not. It's going to be very interesting who takes the initiative in this race, whether the 8 Strava gets to the front end off the claim for Norm Cassie. That's a horse that has speed. I think Santos Dumont's got a big shot in this race. If you go back to some of his races last year at Oaklawn, they're darn good. And I think he rounded back into form after 2, one off the turf effort, then on the turf. And I think he's a major player in here. And I think the reason why the 3's getting better time for trouble, the horse is 2 for 2 over wet surfaces. So I think the public is seeing that. But I'm going to land on the 5, Santos Dumont in here for a little bit of an upset. But, he's going to have to do some running to beat the 7 Frosted Departure. I'm just hoping that Frosted Departure regresses a little bit in here. I know, JK, you are hoping that Frosted Departure repeats.
Yeah, I mean, I think this horse is the best horse in the field based on the last race. But the other thing that I think is pretty interesting when talking about that is that Frosted Departure, 2 races back, was running at 6 furlongs, okay, sprinting. You can get a little bit shorter than 6 furlongs in this country, but man, that's kind of as short as you can get. Shows up, goes 1 mile and a 16th last time, and runs his lifetime best race. Does it impressively with a serious speed figure. Now, that wasn't enough for old Kenny McPeak and Julian Leperoux. They said, let's go a little bit further. They're going to try 1 mile and 3/16. This horse is going to be in absolute control. The 1 mile and a 16th worked. The way that this horse finished, I thought, was impressive enough. Should get a comfortable situation on the front end. Will be able to run a little bit slower early than they ran last time to get the lead going 1 mile and a 16th. These horses are going to go even slower, and there's not a lot of pace in here. Frosted Departure should get very, very comfy, cozy on the front end, and as they turn for home, I'm hoping that he actually does depart from the rest of the field. You like that, Richie?
Well done, Jonathan Kinchin, tying it all together. Let's see, 7-5 favorite here, Can Frosted Departure. You look at the other races, too. He hasn't been this one type of all-out speed horse.
Well, I don't think he needs the lead, but it's nice when you get comfortable on the lead. I think he's going to have a bit of a chilly reception with the 8 Strava drawn right to his outside.
Oh, boy. JK, open the floodgates. Here we go. Matt Dinnerman, the call.
We're ready to go. And Leroff, Command Performance got crowded at the break and also getting slammed into Time for Trouble. And those two drop back to the second last and last position. Strava, as expected, is prominent on the lead with Frosted Departure a little bit keen to get after him. And those two get acquainted on the lead. They put 2 lengths on Santos Dumont, who runs in the 3rd spot. Buck Moon, Haywood's Beach, they're side by side, and they're 3 clear of the last trio who line up. Time for Trouble, Accidental Hero, and Command Performance, who's 3 deep on the course now. The field separated by 9 lengths as they round the clubhouse turn, and Frosted Departure is kicked on to a length lead from Strava. Happy to track today from that second position, stretching out in distance. Buck Moon 3rd as they make their way up the back stretch, a length and a half to Santos Dumont. Haywood's Beach galloping in the 5th position in those blue blinkers. He's 6 lengths behind, already niggled along a little bit as he's being joined by Time for Trouble down the backside, and a gap of 3 to Accidental Hero and Command Performance. They're still at the rear with a half mile to go. Frosted Departure still clear. The margin's a length and a half. Strava in the 2nd position. Buck Moon 3rd. Santos Dumont goes pretty well. Santos Dumont about to claim 3rd. He's coming after the leaders as they round the turn. Then Time for Trouble. He's sent along 5 behind. Haywood's Beach not making up ground. He's losing position. Command Performance still at the rear with Accidental Hero. Both runners have to pick it up as they round the 4th turn and approach the top of the lane. Here's Santos Dumont to challenge Frosted Departure. These two are squaring off. A couple of them in tight as Strava, who weakened, got in tight, had to slam on the brakes here. They come down the lane, and Time for Trouble's catching the eye. He's taking the 2nd spot. Santos to Dumont has dropped anchor, and on the lead it's Buck Moon. So Buck Moon's the one to reel in. Time for Trouble on the outside trying to get there. Buck Moon in front. Time for Trouble trying to reel him in. He's gaining ground. Time for Trouble on the outside. Time for Trouble nailed Buck Moon. Command Performance 3rd. Frosted Departure fades to 4th.
Fast early fractions for Frosted Departure does that one in. Time for Trouble at 5 to 1. Rafael Bejarano for Jeff Hiles, the victory.
Yeah, it came wide into the stretch as the 1-horse Buck Moon angled out and really bothered Strava, who was finished at that point, but really had a check under Ricardo Santana. It'll be interesting to see if the stewards look at that. But Time for Trouble took advantage of that very fast pace, 22.68, 46, less than 47 to the half. And that spelled trouble for Frosted Departure, and everybody that was involved with that pace backed out. The one actually was the horse that was closest to that demanding pace and stuck around. It'll be interesting to see, though, if the stewards look at that. Even though he bothered a tiring horse at that point, you have to give guys an opportunity to get out of spots. You don't have the right just to take their ground, and that's why riders start with an apprentice allowance. You're going to make mistakes. This looked like it was just a rider coming out of a spot where he didn't have clearance, but a perfectly timed ride by Rafael Bejarano on Time for Trouble, who was really aided by that extremely fast pace for the distance.
7-year-old who has now won for the 11th time in his career, and there's that inquiry sign, is up now, unofficially 3-1-2-7.
Yeah, and this is again one of those things. Even though you have horse, you're in a spot, and your inclination is to get a little excited, and I got to get out of the spot to take advantage of the run my horse has. You still have to give horses an opportunity to yield, to give up that path. And you saw, Ricardo Santana was in a very precarious position for a stride or two. I mean, that's a dangerous spot. My thing when I was a rider, Greg, was I would get mad when someone would shut me off when I was out of horse. I'm not going to try to hold you in a spot if I'm out of horse, but I can't also protect myself when I'm out of horse, and that's when I would get upset. If you beat me to a spot when we both had horse, hey, that's race riding, you got me. But when I'm, out of horse, you're basically like a sheet of paper in the wind. You're at the whim of the other riders and their horses.
So inquiry sign is up. We'll see what the stewards decide here. Time for Trouble, 11 wins from 29 career starts. Winning Trainer is standing by with Paula Duca.
Yeah, I'm with Winning Trainer here, Jeff Hiles. There is an inquiry up. I think you're clear here, Jeff. And here's a horse that God, my goodness, when it rains, he likes to run, huh?
Yeah, he's been, a good horse for us. He's been very special. We claimed him for $8,000, and we found out he can just really get the distance. And it separates a lot of horses like that. When the half-mile pace come up at the 46, I thought, well, they got to come back going a mile and 3/16, and they did, and he prevailed.
Well, good job. I love the Dodger hat as well. How you like the Dodgers?
I don't really keep up with them as much. I stay real busy, so it's really just a hat right now. Not gonna lie.
Jeff Isles gets the job done. Great claim here with Time for Trouble, and we're still looking at the inquiry. It looks like the one might have caused some trouble, guys.
Didn't expect to see a lot of love for the Dodgers in the Midwest, but we'll see what happens with this inquiry. The sign, yes, still up. We'll take another look.
Yeah, and I don't think it has anything to do with the winner at all. You could see he the 3 Time for Trouble with Rafael Bejarano circles up wide on the outside. Might have taken a step in there. The 5 horse was kind of, at a horse at that point. Chris Landero's horse was, kind of weaving a bit as well. But it appeared to me the focus of this inquiry would be when the one angled out without sufficient clearance towards the top of the stretch, just above the quarter pole, and really took the ground of the 8 Strava. Now, every jurisdiction's a little bit different, Greg. Here in New York, a lot of it is dependent upon if it cost a horse a placing. I don't think that it cost Strava a placing, if you will. But at the same time, you're taking a horse's ground, and you have to be careful about that. A rider's in a position, he's got horses outside of him, so he has no room to work with to give you more room. Now he has to check and come straight back out of it. And all it takes is just tipping a heel, catching your horse's toe grab to that horse's hind, hoof, and a horse tumbles. So I think it was just a case of a young rider getting a little bit excited and making a mistake. It'll be interesting to see how the stewards adjudicate this.
7-pound apprentice, yeah, we'll see if this stands or not, or they make a change. We'll have that for you when we come back. We're going to look ahead. We're going to have Tampa Bay Downs coverage on Saturday for you as well. Mentioned some races on the road potentially to the Kentucky Oaks and the Derby. We have a horse lining up already with some Derby points in that Pasco. We'll be back with a preview next. Back with you on our FS2 coverage. America's Day at the Races is brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Real quick, no change at Oaklawn. 3-1-2-7 result stands.
Yeah, probably the stewards, ruled that it didn't affect the outcome of the race, and I think that's the right thing, particularly for the wagering public. But listen, a really nice effort from Time for Trouble to run down Buck Moon, who also ran terrific. He was the horse most involved or closest to that very fast pace and ran on well, but Time for Trouble, well-timed ride. Rafael Bejarano, 12:20 over Buck Moon at 10:80. And that's one of those cases Carlos Barbosa, the apprentice, will probably have a stern talking to by not just the stewards, but also Ricardo Santana. I remember I showed off Eddie Maple like that one day when I was an apprentice, came out over heels when I didn't have clearance, and Eddie yelled at me, and I don't think I ever did it again.
There's a way of doing that. We're missing Pillbox up there in race 7, who actually won at Oaklawn. Time for Trouble winning the 8th. Pillbox was 5-2 as the favorite, who took that 7th race. So one leg remaining still to come. And it looks like we may spread the wealth a little bit in this cross-country Big 5. It's after we see what happens here in this finale, of course. But hopefully quite a few people alive. No big separators so far to this point.
No, but I think also good handicapping if you come up with it. I thought this race at Oaklawn, the 8th race, was ripe for an upset because I just thought it was going to be a fast pace on, and it certainly was.
Now, 2-turn mile maiden special weight coming up to close out this cross-country Pick 5 sequence at Oaklawn. We mentioned going to break. Going to have stakes action for you from Tampa Bay Downs coming up on our Saturday coverage. With among that group, that Pasco and Gasparilla Stakes. We have that ABR Race of the Week, the Busanda, as well. And in the Pasco, we have a horse who already has some Derby points on the resume with a win in the Iroquois, West Saratoga, who's going to be making his 3-year-old debut coming up.
West Saratoga is certainly a horse that, it feels like this is a jumping off point, right? Like turning back to this sprint distances, and that's a more traditional way that it used to be done, where horses would start their 3-year-old campaign sprinting and build up to the classic distance. We don't see that as prevalent these days. Horses now basically starting out at 1 1/16 and beyond, but West Saratoga draws the inside. Horse that's already a graded stakes winner and finished nicely here, going a mile under, ironically enough, Rafael Bejarano, who we just saw win at Oaklawn Park. He'll have Sammy Camacho on. Sammy Camacho putting together another fine Tampa Bay Downs meeting.
And look, 3-year-old debut coming up. If he can, as you would expect a 3-year-old to move forward just a little bit. This horse not that far off the mix of, everyone's chasing your Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner. And he's in a different league, but he's not that far off some of the rest of the bunch.
I think when you think about young horses, you've got to look at them like kids. They develop at different times. Who is going to take that big step from 2 to 3, and who have you seen the best of as a 2-year-old?
Now this horse, Bookham Dano, New Jersey bred, who's done very little wrong, narrowly defeated in the Nashua last time out. This was a dominant win. It was meant for the grass, came off sprinting Belmont and Aqueduct in the Futurity.
He's a really nice horse. He's honest, he's versatile, he can set the pace or he can come from just off the pace. He was very game going the mile of the Nashua, and he drew off very strongly going the 6 furlongs of the Futurity, 7 furlongs well within his scope. And Derek Ryan, his trainer, I remember he ran here. He was talking about him and how this horse is really good, and he's really excited about him. Bookham Dano for you Hawaii 5-0 fans.
Yeah, see how he fares coming up in his 3-year-old debut ahead. Meanwhile, 3-year-old fillies, 2 races prior in the 7th, Gasparilla, 7 furlongs, and Mystic Lake will take plenty of money. Saffie Joseph Jr. debuted actually on dirt, didn't show a lot. She was favored first time out, then got on synthetic and became a completely different filly. Going to try dirt again.
Listen, she took all the money on debut and really didn't show much. Now, was it just a matter of the debut? It's hard to judge because she's been so good on synthetic. Is it going to translate? And you're probably going to take a short price, although she's sporting some very quick works at Palm Meadows, and that's a dirt course. Tough read for me, particularly from the inside.
Bullet drill, fastest of 131 in the morning, December 30th.
Not a small sample.
No. And yeah, has shown sprint speed in the past, has a rail you would think is going to try and put that to good use coming up on Saturday. So we'll have coverage of that 8 fillies lining up potentially on the road to that Kentucky Oaks. So we'll have that for you on our Saturday coverage. We're going to take a timeout. What a ride this was. Kendrick Carmouche bumping into the rail. A mile behind the field, goes about 15 wide. Somehow able to get up for the win in the debut. We'll hear from Kendrick on that ride when we come back.
War Dancer, New York's leading turf sire again in 2023 with standouts like Barrage at Saratoga.
Here's Barrage with a final surge. Barrage got him.
Warsaichi dominant on the dirt at Finger Lakes.
Warsaichi has scampered well clear. Warsaichi all the way with the top spot.
And Danzig Queen on the tap of the surface at Woodbine.
And Danzig Queen will come away and win by a length.
Consistently producing winners on dirt, turf, and synthetic. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
They're off, and a very bad start there for Crimson Light. Crimson Light just walked out of the gate, hopped in the air, the even money favorite. Very bad start, and is right now about 15 lengths the early trailer. And still at the back, Crimson Light trying to make up about 10 as they reach the top of the stretch. It's still Perno and Profitability. They go at it. Profitability did not run by. Perno is trying to come back towards the inside of the price. It's Perno who's got a neck in front. Profitability is still right there. Here comes a big run from Short Time and Up to My Knees in it. Crimson Light on the grandstand side is running a monster race. Is Crimson Light going to pull this off? It's Perno who's got the lead. Crimson Light, look at this at the line photo. I think Crimson Light did it. It's a photo between Crimson Light and Short Time. Perno finishes third in 1 minute 22 seconds flat. What did we just see?
He indeed did it. Hits the rail right out of the gate, hops up in the air, 20 lengths or more so behind the field. Somehow, with that wide trip, gets up to win. Andy Serling caught up with Kendrick Carmouche after the win.
Well, probably one of the most talked about races over the entire weekend was the debut of Crimson Light. And I want you, Kendrick, for us to talk a little bit about what it was like riding him and a lot of your thoughts going through your mind at the beginning of the race, during the race, and as you were sort of in a position to maybe win an improbable race.
Well, it was very good that I got to know the horse in the morning, so I know that he wasn't crazy. You know, that's the most important thing for a jockey and a trainer, to try to let that come together before you get to the races. And with that being said, the horse warmed up good. He broke a step slow, and, you know, I think he was more like, whoa, what is that? And jumped away from it, then try to jump towards it. And, you know, I just stayed with Maine. I never panicked. I just let him do his thing because he didn't want to jump the fence and I didn't want to jump the fence. So
you a little bit more than him.
Yeah, me a little bit more than him. And I know the horse been working good. I've been working him. And, you know, once I got him straightened up down the backside, the only thing I was thinking was just to let him get his feet underneath him, let him gather himself, because I know he can run and I knew the 6.5 was a big part of me winning this race. That funny distance really would stop those horses at the end, and believe me, I think I might have hit him 3 times, but if you felt what I felt underneath me, the way he was striding to overcome what wasn't his fault, he's a scared baby, but he overcome all of that, and he pulled up after the race, and he had to shake his head like I shook my head, like what just happened.
Just an incredible result. Veers left out of the gate, hits the rail, hops up in the air, a mile behind the rest of the field. And how wide was that horse in the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, being wide was the least of all the problems that he had. And it was a day when you wanted to be outside anyway. But what's amazing to me is, I mean, and I talk about young horses running empty space. Watch when he leaves the gate. He's already got it on his mind. He was leaving. Now, when he gets to the rail, horses will tend to jump when they're going to hit something to try to avoid hitting it. He got a lot of height there, too, so Kendrick did an amazing job just staying in the middle of him. Watch here. Even before his body's fully out, he's already started. Now, watch, look at the height there. He was a good 4 feet off the ground at that point, and then he was able to get him back onto the course proper. You could see the horse's footprints and how he came out. Just hitting the ground, the TV camera here, and he angles him well out to the clear, get out of the kickback. Everything was rallying down the center of the track that day. He has no chance to win. He runs a good 5th or 6th here, and you go, wow, he got back in the race. He makes up 10 lengths in the last furlong to run down these horses. I mean, this was a remarkable performance on so many levels. Now, of course, you read right away how it was a slow buyer figure. You have to be able to see past buyer figures in a situation like this. This horse had no chance to even get back in the race at all, let alone get up and win it. This was a scintillating performance. Now, where this will place him going forward as far as, where he'll fit, I'm not saying he's a stakes performer. I'm not saying he's a grade 1 kind of horse. This was a remarkable debut on a lot of levels. And we talk about a race being worth 5 workouts. This one was worth 15. He got more experience out of this between overcoming adversity, blowing the brake completely, taking kickback, angling out, and finishing. This is a very, very nice effort and a really nice prospect.
Talk about the job, too. Kendrick, I mean, that is not an easy position to be in. To stay in the saddle when you rear into the gate like that.
To stay in the middle of him, just to keep his balance, especially after he veered, nearly hit the fence to avoid it. The horse kind of leaped in the air, and he got a lot of height there, was sensational. But then Kendrick did what a cagey old veteran does. Okay, this is the hand I'm dealt. I'm not going to panic. I'm going to let him find his stride. He even had the presence of mind after they went about 50 yards, helping that horse onto his right or proper lead down the backstretch, giving him that opportunity to catch his stride and come with a run. A younger rider, a less experienced rider might have got panicky. He's a big favorite. We blew the brake, and now rush him at all, and that wouldn't have worked at all. This was an incredible effort by both horse and rider.
Thank God this sport has evolved as well as temporary rails. Little assist in this performance.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, the horse had the presence of mind to have self-preservation. He didn't want to go through it, and he did everything he could. But that even speaks to his athleticism, that he was able to stop his momentum. This is a 1,000-pound animal going left before he crashed through that temporary rail and leaping into the rail and then getting straightened out and finding it. I mean,
amazing debut.
Amazing, and not something you're going to see very often in this game.
Yeah. So be a lot of attention on that horse coming back. First time against winners in start number 2. We get to the nightcap and the final leg that's going to close out the cross-country pick 5 here in Hot Springs. 2-turn mile, maiden special weight. So everyone looking for the first win on the resume coming up. That's the 7-5 favorite, the 4. Honor Cat for Robertino Diodoro, who just missed at 50-1 last time out. Now you're going to take him as the favorite at 7-5.
Yeah, I mean, last time at 50-1,
that was
right?
The time.
Yeah, and now you're going to take the worst of it price-wise, and I think there are some other directions to go. But that was a huge step forward for this horse, running the 2 turns for the first time on dirt.
Look how far back, 2 to 3rd.
A lot of separation there, but I think there's some other interesting ways to go here, and a lot of these horses, not the whole field, but pretty much the whole field, save one, getting Lasix for the first time. A lot of jurisdictions don't allow Lasix for 2-year-olds. This horse is getting Lasix for the first time.
In fact, with the exception of the 7, everyone getting it for the first time here in this field. The 10 looks like the speed in this field. That one's going to stretch out 5-1. Princess is Olivia. She is quick. So far, 4 starts, she's hit the board in 3 tries.
Yeah, she's very quick. She's got sprint speed. She's been on the lead 22 flat. I mean, going a mile, not going to have to go 22 flat. She should be able to get comfortable, has to overcome being towards the outside, but with that much natural speed, you'd have to think that Princess Olivia clears and makes the lead.
It looks that way. Can she handle this mile distance? That's the question here. Daughter of Preservationist out of a Speightstown mare. As we take a look at a big long shot in here. That's Chica Arma. Yeah, Steve Asmussen has a runner in here too that took money first time out in a straight maiden race. It was a race that was intended for the grass, came off, but that's the 9 Contour. Huge price here in start number 2.
Yeah, but like you said, a horse that did take money, and usually that means they tip their hand. And listen, Steve Asmussen is North America's winningest trainer for a reason. He's smart. He's playing chess when some other people may be playing checkers, right? He's thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. Just because this horse was in an off-the-turf race doesn't mean that Steve was intending for the turf. Churchill Downs was having a lot of trouble with their turf course, and I believe he probably entered believing they were going to run on the dirt.
All right, so post-parade coming up for this finale here at Oaklawn. 3-2 Honor Cat. Yeah, first of all, well, I get maybe it was warranted. 50-1 seems awfully big for Honor Cat last time out, but with the number that horse ran, and it came here at Oaklawn too. Deserving to 3-2 might be a little short, but deserves to be the favorite.
I agree. Definitely deserves to be the favorite, and you like that good effort came at Oaklawn Park. I believe in horses for courses. I think some horses handle different surfaces better than others, but this is a completely different surface than this horse encountered last time, being an off racetrack.
Another major player, I guess the 6. What's her number? Start number 2 gets blinkers, Lasix, and was making up ground first time out.
I thought this was a very interesting horse, and interesting too. The owner, Clark Brewster, has a lot of horses with Steve Asmussen. Has this one with Joe Sharp. A lot of changes, though, on the stretch out after closing through traffic last time, showed ability, and then adds blinkers on the stretch out. And that isn't – sometimes I'd like to see them have one on the stretch out without the addition of blinkers. Give them that opportunity to settle in.
A lot of changes with the 6. 9-2 on the board right now. Second time out for the Joe Sharp barn. So we kick things off at the post parade with my favorite girls also making the same changes. Blinkers on and Lasix.
Yeah, and you get Kenny McPeak, a horse stretching out. Started her career around 2 turns with a nice effort at Churchill Downs.
Same deal with the 2. Blinkers and Lasix for Dwayne Lucas.
Yeah, and comes out of the same race with Honor Cat when she was basically in Pine Bluff and everybody else was in Hot Springs.
Blinkers coming off business as usual.
Another one that has shown speed going longer. There's sprint speed in here.
Boy, value evaporates fast, doesn't it, in this game? 50-1 last start, now it's 3-2 on Honor Cat.
One race really made everybody a believer. Listen, I think a deserving favorite, maybe a bit short.
Pepper's Girlfriend, nearly 50-1 for Don Von Hemel.
Is going to have to improve off of that first race where she broke a bit slow.
Joe Sharp filly, we just were talking about at 9-2. What's her number?
I thought she was interesting. She ran well first time, and certainly from a pedigree standpoint, should appreciate the stretch out. Excuse me.
Gunrunner filly, there she is. Chica Arma, Steve Asmussen.
Well, Steve Asmussen knows a little bit about Gunrunner, wouldn't you think? And I like the stretch out. He employs his son, Keith Asmussen.
2 sprints in stretching out. A very good angle quite often. Paces 2 cents. Kenny McPeak, start number 2.
Yeah, gets off the turf, tries dirt, buys 3 cents out of an AP Indy mare. Gets Julian, too.
Another Asmussen filly here, and one we touched on who took money first out.
Very interesting runner here. Winchell Thoroughbreds, long-time owners with Steve Asmussen.
The speedy Princess is Olivia.
Will she stay the mile, and how much is she going to have to use to clear from that post? She should be on the lead.
And light it up, Louie. You look back to the first start on dirt back at Keeneland, and she can improve off that. She's a player here.
Yeah, ridden by Harry Hernandez. And this is a rider I know Paul was talking to me about and thinks he has a lot of ability. He got to that Oakland Park meet a little bit late, but tough post. Going to have a lot of things go positively or right.
Maker Barn, one of the best in the country at 29-1 from the outside. Let's check in with Paul.
Yeah, this is a difficult closing race, and if you're alive in some of these multis, hopefully you get it home. The 4 Honor Cat in here, you made such a good point, Greg. 50-1 last time out. Do you want to take 6-5 today? But this filly ran giant. She really did. She was 50-1. I get it, but you guys made a good point. They were so far back to the 3rd place finisher. And of all the Diodoro runners in the beginning of the meet, she was one of the only ones that really has fired a big shot. I know he's got 3 wins. Those other 2 wins were kind of on a drop. So, she fired big that day, and, she gets Lasix for the first time. Been training at Louisiana Downs, and a horse that trained over a heavy surface. I know, Mick, you got to like that one because you haven't seen heavy in a long time. You don't see heavy in the denotations at any racetrack anymore. So, I mean, the 4 at 6-5, I get it that the horse is the favorite. I just don't get 6-5. The 6, what's her number? I think the blinker's going on. This horse had a little bit of trouble. Landeros and Sharp, decent numbers together. First-time blinkers. Joe's very good with first-time blinkers. He's 25%. I think the other horse in here that's getting ignored, and I was talking to Rudy Brissett. He's so funny. He cracks me up. I said, Rudy, do you like some mud racing? He's like, you got to ask her if she can run or not. But look at his stats. First-time Lasix, 5 for 9. He's 56% first-time Lasix for Rudy Brissett. So the 3 at 12-1 is a good value. But I'll stick with the 6. What's her number? And then the 10 on the outside, JK, major player in here for Juan Cano. I know you like Princess is Olivia, the filly that's out of Spites down on the bottom side. But should like the mud.
Yeah, this is one that I'm gonna lean on here. If you look at the first 4 races of the career, this horse is, especially in the last 3, but basically in all 4 races, has really shown an ability to run early, to show some early pace. And I think about it a little bit, myself. When I look at, I don't do it very often, when I get outside to jog or whatever, when you go really fast early, it's more taxing on your lungs. It hurts a little bit more than if you were to kind of take your time, and then try to run a little bit. To me, what happens in those situations is you're really exerting yourself from a pulmonary standpoint. So I think that Lasix, for horses that run fast early, really exert themselves, I think can go a long way in helping them improve. Princess is Olivia is a horse that has early speed and is getting Lasix for the first time. So I'm hoping that those Lasix actually do help her along out there and be able to kind of withstand some of that pulmonary exertion. You didn't know I knew all those words, did you?
Former coach, JK, I'm sure I have all the faith in the world in you that you know it all.
I'm impressed.
Very nice. Makes a good point, too, doesn't he? I don't like speed horses anymore. Set for the nightcap here and final leg of this cross-country Pick 5. Let's go to Matt Dinnerman.
And they're off in the nightcap. Very awkward break from Princess is Olivia, who drops to the reel. Honor Cat, the favorite, going to the front. Honor Cat's in front from What's Her Number, a little bit keen, stretching out in distance today. Gets to the outside into the turn as Honor Cat leads the way. So Honor Cat is the pacemaker in the nightcap, a length in front from What's Her Number. Chris Landeros trying to get her to relax in the second position. And third is Scenic Beauty, tucked in on the inside. She's a length and a half in front of Chica Arma. And then comes Pepper's Girlfriend racing a joint 5th with Business as Usual, swinging up the backstretch. Contour is next. It's about 7 lengths behind in the Winchell colors. A length back to Lighted Up Louie and a space of 4 to the last 3 who line up at the back of the pack. My Favorite Girl is there with Paces 2 cents and Princess is Olivia as they're halfway home in the nightcap. No excuse excuses for Honor Cat, who's clearly ahead, going nice and easy it appears, opens up a length and 3/4. What's Her Number is second. Scenic Beauty about to pass her, claims that second spot as What's Her Number is giving way. Looks like she's calling it a day. She's being joined by Business as Usual, then Chica Arma sent along from there. Contour, Pepper's Girlfriend, Lighted Up Louie trying to pass runners on the fence now, but she's 9 lengths off the lead. Princess is Olivia gathering momentum, but they've all got to get going if they want to beat Honor Cat, who's opened up approaching the top of the lane. And look at her go. Honor Cat 6 ahead in a matter of strides here. Honor Cat all alone on the lead as she comes down the lane. This race will end at the 16th pole. Pepper's Girlfriend chasing in the second spot. Business as Usual is coming on. Honor Cat in front. She's getting desperate for the line. She's still well clear. She's going to get it done here. Honor Cat by 5. Well clear. Photo for second there between Business as Usual and Lighted Up Louie. And then came Scenic Beauty, Contour, and Pepper's Girlfriend.
Complexion of this race completely changed when the speed of the field did not break. Princess is Olivia, even money favorite. Honor Cat, the win. Robertino Diodoro Barn with Christian Torres.
Well, it really did change in a blink of an eye when Princess is Olivia blew the brake, kind of veered in, was last into the first turn when you probably expected her to be about 2 in front, and that really aided Honor Cat, who got so comfortable up on the lead, kicked away with that short stretch. Christian Torres certainly knows his way around Oakland Park.
Indeed he does. Cross-country pick 5, just over $1,240. Congrats if you had it. We are back tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern start time. We'll see you then on our FS2 coverage. Check your local listings. 7th and Aqueduct, 24 Mamba, backing up that big effort in a win over Awesome Native. Back-to-back victories now to take the feature on this Friday card in New York. Dylan Davis aboard. And Time for Trouble. This one goes back-to-back as well after a win at Fairgrounds. Backs it up with a win here at Oaklawn. And they're featured 8th. We'll see you on Saturday at 2:30 Eastern.